Hello, hello. How are you?
Hello, good afternoon, Salty. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm doing pretty good. Hey, Butterfly, thanks for joining us. She's in the chat as usual. Um, Doing pretty good. I didn't sleep good last night. I got a pinched nerve, and the damn thing kept me up all night long. So this morning I had to get up, and I finally got my lazy butt up and did it. And I have to lay a certain way and do my head a certain way, and it kind of released up. So it's been a pretty decent day. It was kind of
That's
productive actually. So
a good deal. Good deal. Mm.
it's rained here all day. How's the weather where you are?
We had thunderstorms last night, which was awesome because when I had my insomnia, I got to watch a thunderstorm. So
Yeah.
that was kind of cool. Here in the on the banks of the Wabash River, the thunder
Mhm.
just rolls down the valley. Like it
Oh,
just keeps going and going and going. That's pretty cool.
I like that. I do. That's I know I was thinking about that earlier and I was sitting outside. It was like barely it was light rain here most of the day, but it rained heavier in town. But I was sitting outside this morning under the pole barn and it's hitting the tin roof and it sounded heavier than it was. I thought I don't mind these good thunderstorms, but it's kind of damp out here and I'm not really feeling it right now. But it's cool to be in the house and I do like to lay in bed and listen to a good thunderstorm though.
I love it. I love even sitting outside. When I was in Florida, I would
Thunderstorm,
sit out on the, yeah, yeah,
yeah.
inside or outside. I love a good thunderstorm either way.
Well, if I think though, if it's not real windy, I can handle being outside under the pole barn. But if it starts blowing around and it's blowing in on me, it starts to get annoying. So then it's like ah. But I don't mind sitting outside for it either. But yeah, I used to have the playlist on the YouTube with the thunderstorms. And that's how I'd fall asleep sometimes because I always have insomnia. But I would always turn on my thunderstorm in the background and just chill to that.
Yeah, that's it. It's so soothing. So soothing.
It is very much so. Hey, Forrest, welcome in. It's been a minute since we've seen you. Thanks for coming in. Rained where you are yesterday. I always want to call her Firefly, Butterfly. Um, yeah, I think we must have had a cold front coming through. It hasn't been cold in Florida yet. We've still been dealing with warm weather, and today it was all muggy. But I noticed it was clearing up in the sky, and I thought it's about to stop raining. But now it's going to turn cold, so it'll be cold from now till next summer. I will be anyway.
Yeah, it's going to turn cold here. Today's going to be the warmest day probably until next spring. It's up in the mid to upper 60s here, and in 2 days there's a chance of snow. So it's turning quickly. Very
Yeah.
cool.
It's 70 here right now, so if it gets like 69, y'all gonna hear me start bitching. Like, better not drop
69
one
is
more
the
degree.
perfect. That's the perfect temperature. 69. That's it.
Yeah, as long as our humidity does go down in the winter, and that's really one good thing about it. I can't complain about that, but I'm not a fan of winter, so I'm like, I don't complain in the summer because I do complain in the winter, and I don't like complaining, and I don't like pick one. Which one do you want to complain about? So I'm like, I'll just go in the AC and chill. Mm.
Yeah, I had cousins that lived in Georgia, and when they retired, they moved down to Florida, south of Tampa Bay, like about an hour, or not Tampa Bay, Daytona Beach, south of Daytona Beach, so East Coast. And they complain when it gets too cold in the wintertime down. They're like, "Damn it, we should have moved like all the way down to like Fort Myers."
Yeah, yeah. It's crazy how the weather is different every place. I'm just thankful I don't have to contend with blizzards and snow and all that. I lived for a while up in Huntsville, Alabama, North Alabama, and they have snow, but not like you guys would and stuff like that. But I couldn't deal with it. I'm like, I'm not cut out for this stuff. I don't even know how to drive in it. I don't know how to act. Don't know what to do. Just don't know what to do. Give me
Yeah,
salt. I can handle that.
right. I grew up in the snow and the cold, and I learned how to drive on the ice and the snow, and so I actually look forward to it. I actually look forward to. You can't with today's modern vehicles, you almost can't go out and do donuts anymore because they have traction
I know,
control.
right?
or they're front wheel
Yeah.
drive, or they're all wheel drive. So you can't do donuts anymore. You got to go like get in a 1980s vehicle to do donuts.
Yeah, it's crazy. You're right. That is so true. Forrest, I heard about that. That is crazy. A bomb cyclone. It was like a Cat 4 storm. Windy. That's if it's going to be like a Cat 4 hurricane, we're talking are you talking like Cat 4 winds like we get on Cat 4 hurricanes? I mean that's or is like cyclone bombed. Where are you actually, Forrest? I don't even think I know.
It looks like they're predicting it for the West Coast, so I assume he's somewhere out on the West Coast.
Okay, I thought because I kind of I don't really pay attention too hard, but I did see something about that. I was like, I don't. It's so freaky because I can handle hurricanes and deal with them. I don't want one, of course, but I know how to prepare and do the best we can. And then I'm like seeing all these other things you guys experience. I'm like, oh no no. Okay, Vancouver Island. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, all of the West Coast. Well, the Southwest, like California, doesn't handle that well. They don't handle rains. They don't handle much of anything well.
Yeah. There's even a truck that crab walks now. Like, are you
What?
serious? Like, I can't.
And
I'm just.
supposedly Mar-a-Lago has robot guard dogs now. That
Are
creeps
you
me
kidding
out like
me?
you wouldn't believe. No.
I'm gonna go find out. I need to go. No, I don't. I can't do that. He's like the president again, right? So I might get in some serious trouble. But damn, like I want to go check out these fake. That's insane. I'm sorry. My dog is very trainable, and the is like she's like finally an adult dog. She came into her own. She matured finally, and because she was kind of buck wild as a younger dog, but she's a pretty big dog. But we were outside late the other night, and my son was out with his girlfriend, and is super dead quiet, and she heard us. A weird, the truck did sound weird. He was down at the four-way stop. I could hear it, and I noticed she stood there and she's listening, and I could see all of her muscles just, standing out in her body. And I just whispered, "Watch it." And that's all. And I've been working on that with her. I want my dogs to know when I say, "Watch it," that means get on it. And she did, buddy. And she never barks. She took off to that fence and she hit that fence so hard and was just rah, rah, rah toward that red light down there. And I was like, oh, shoot. So I've been training her to. Hello, 12 gauge. Welcome in. And we're going to give it a minute, let people come in. We're what we're doing here, guys. If you're going to catch the replay or if you're catching it right now, we're going to start with the PCA and go over the PCA facts. There are people coming into the case that are new who really haven't heard a lot of the things that some of us have, like 12 gauge. I know you're on a lot of this. Um, and people who have kind of heard things and, kind of was watching it, but they were, really, really honed in on Delphi. Now they're wanting to know more about this case. So we did do a show the other night when we went over the motions to suppress, and I've listened to a few people talk about those since then, and I've got some ideas kicking around about that as well. But right now, I think I talked with Joe, and we decided we would just start with the PCA and go over facts as we know them, as based on what happened in this case, or not. Well, it depends on which side you look at. There's the side from the court standpoint, and then there's the side from the YouTube standpoint and all the drama that's went along with it. So some of that stuff will come up. We did get a chance the other night, Joe, to review some of that grub truck footage because you hadn't seen that yet. So that was interesting because there's a lot of this stuff I have not looked at in so long. And so this morning I was sitting down and I was like, I got all this stuff scattered on my phone, and I got this newer PC that I need to get. So I started trying to get all my stuff to the PC and organized. So as we go into certain topics and things, I can just bring things up to share with you guys. even down to the layout of the home and the different rooms. Because I'm a very visual learner, and I had to do that with this case and with Delphi. Like, the minute I figured out I could go look at this, help me get a better perspective on the case. So the other night when we did our live, we went and looked at a little bit of drone footage and kind of was trying to give everybody a little bit of the gist of where things were and how it, what kind of scene there was there to move around in. Hey,
Yeah, that
Stevens.
definitely that definitely helps me too. I'm
Mhm.
like I can imagine it in my brain, but until I actually like see it graphically in front of me, I'm still guessing. So that was
Yeah,
tremendously helpful. Yeah.
it's so helpful with every case, even like some of the missing cases I might start out following, or anything that any case I start following, it's always, we're just trained to kind of like go to the maps and start looking, because we're not there and we just can't jump in the car and drive down there. So you have no choice. But there's been there's just like with Delphi, there's a lot of good people that have went out and done drone footage and drives through the area and things like in the beginning, could you get behind those Queen Road apartments? I didn't think you could. And then I think it was JLR who actually went out there in the very beginning and drove around. And I was like, oh, shoot, you can get around behind those. And then when we had the Linda Lane leak, um, you can see that that particular car on that footage does just that, goes around behind that building. So it's always a good idea to see what we're talking about, and kind of get an understanding and the lay of the land kind of thing. Yep, there's a link to Joe's channel, guys, if you'll go sub up. And while I'm at it, if you don't mind, if you like the way we do things here, give us a like and subscribe as well. Joe and I, we kind of go back and forth between the two channels. Sometimes I have crappy internet and he doesn't. And I'm like, you know what, dude, we got to go from your channel. And sometimes we just switch off. It really just whatever, we're not too particular.
Yeah, but we both have a lot of similar ideas
Get to
on
read
how
any
to
more of the
look at these
PCA?
cases. Do what?
What is it? What was you saying?
I was saying we both have similar ways in how we view these cases, but we also have some different ideas on how we view these cases. So I think it's been a good
Mm-hmm.
mix.
Yeah, we're good. We go. We Our back and forth is pretty good. And even when we discuss them, and sometimes we don't agree in the beginning. They're like, "Well, what do you think about this?" And he'll say, "Well, what about this?" I'm like, "Well, that makes sense," and that kind of thing. But I think that's what we all do as a community, and that's what we're here for, and try to figure this stuff out. Because I have no preconceived notions about Kohberger's innocence or guilt. I've never tried to develop that. I wanted to stay as neutral as I could and base, because I've heard all the other things, and just try to base it on the facts. Because the fact is, if the man's innocent, his attorney's going to do her job. You know, rephrase that. Like, as the Delphi case was happening and we couldn't see the trial, we were just getting our daily reports. I began to lean toward this guy may not be the guy. There's only probable cause or circumstantial evidence at best, but it took the whole time of moving through that case where I still was not 100% either way. But more toward the end of that trial, I began to really lean toward they probably got the wrong person, just based on their evidence, not based on anything I'd heard out into YouTube land or read or anything like that, but just based on their evidence alone. So I kind of like to start there at least and give us a good talking points, and then as things develop we can discuss them. I don't mind discussing theories and all that good stuff, but just wanted to start here.
Yeah, I think that's the key point is we're both not about the drama. We're not about the clicks and likes and views. We're about trying to get to the bottom of factual guilt, factual innocence, or just not guilty beyond a reasonable doubt.
Yeah, I mean, you want to make sure you got the right person no matter what, and all along the way. And we were talking about this, Joe and I were, about like similarities in cases and the evidence. um and the evidence in the Kohberger case versus the Delphi case. And they both have, well, Idaho has a couple of, well, from what they tell us, they have multiple car cameras or cameras that can see a car. Delphi, we had one camera that saw the car, but they didn't collect the actual footage. They just took screenshots of the footage. And then cell phone stuff came into play. Cell phone data over here in Idaho and plenty of cell phone data over there in Delphi. Difference is FBI was in on the Idaho stuff, where crazy their cell phone data stuff came out in court. It was like, what the hell are y'all doing over there, you know? And then DNA evidence. No DNA tied Richard Allen to that crime scene. None whatsoever. Idaho, we got a sheath with some DNA. So, it's going to be interesting to see how this case plays out as compared to that case. And we know that Ann Taylor, his attorney, did file a bunch of motions the other night, like we were saying, to suppress the evidence that came from the search warrants. And we're going to get to those search warrants probably the next show, because this is like part one. And I think part two, that's what we'll do, is we'll go over those search warrants. And I've got the search warrant returns to what was taken out of the apartment, what was taken from the car, and what was taken from his parents' home. And we'll go over those items and talk about that stuff. But if you guys are ready to get ready, I'll go ahead and we'll start reading over this probable beginning. When you
Yeah.
first read this thing, it can be a little scattery. It's like it's all over the place almost, with their times here and times there and cars here and phones here. So what I did like a year ago, and I can't even find my notebook now with that in it, and I'm like, what did I do with that damn thing? But I had to sit down and make two columns, really list all the times that car was spotted according to this PCA, and then all the cell phone times according to that PCA. So if you guys want to grab a pen and paper, you can do that. And I did drop the link on my community tab or community post. They changed it to community post. I think it was the day before yesterday after our live. I went and dropped the link to the Idaho case of interest page, and there's where you can find all of the filings in the Kohberger case. In fact, all the top cases in Idaho you're going to find on that same page. But because people want to know where you can find the documents for Kohberger, little package for us, and we don't have to go searching around the internet and trying to get things. It's all right there. Now, remember, it's all under seal, 95% of it. So you're only going to get so much information, but they're there if you want to go look at them. So if you don't want to take notes, or you want to go grab it later and read it and take your time reading through it, by all means go over to my YouTube page here and you can get the link there. So anyway, this was written up, and remember we were hearing in some of those documents the other night how they were copying and pasting things back and forth, because Mowry and Brett Payne each wrote an affidavit. This one is the one that was dropped as the probable cause affidavit. It is the Exhibit A statement from Brett Payne, and he is an officer there in the Idaho or Moscow Police Department. So the below information, an acting peace officer with the County of Latah, State of Idaho.
We
Brett
don't
Payne is
see that
employed
yet.
by Moscow Police
Selfie.
Department. Oh, you know
Selfie.
what? That's a damn. Hold on, let me get it up there. Let me get it up there, people. I was like, what is he talking about? You can see it now?
There we go. There we go. All good
Okay.
now.
Because I had to make it so I could see it good myself. Oh wait, I got the wrong glasses on. No wonder I was like, I'm gonna get a headache. I have different ones when I have to read the computer. It's crazy because I broke my real ones and had to go buy crappy ones. I'm too lazy to go to the doctor. Okay. So anyway, Brett's telling you about his history here. Brett Payne is employed with the Moscow Police Department in the official capacity or position of corporal, and has been trained and qualified peace officer for approximately 4 years. So he hasn't been on the job very long, and in the big scheme of things. I'm not taking away from his abilities, I guess is the right word. I don't know, but he's only been around for 2 years. By members of the Idaho State Police and agents of the Federal Bureau of Investigation. They didn't ask him to leave the way Doug Carter asked FBI to leave over there in Delphi. Okay. On November 13th at approximately 4 p.m., Moscow Police Department Sergeant Blaker and I responded to 1122 King Road, Moscow, Idaho, hereafter the King Road residence. So he didn't arrive on scene with his partner investigator there until 4 p.m. But the other officers were already on scene. To assist with scenery, security, and processing of a crime scene associated with 4 homicides. Upon arrival, the Idaho State Police forensics team was on scene and was preparing to begin processing the scene. Initial responding officers to the incident advised he would walk me through the scene. Thank you, Butterfly. She just dropped the link, guys, right there in chat for you to the case files. OFC Smith and I entered the King Road residence through the bottom floor on the north side of the building. Now, the bottom floor is going to be the first floor down there where the front door is at, and also because if you don't know the layout of the house yet, the front door is at the first floor. The sliding doors from the kitchen are technically on the second floor. So, and that's from the behind the house. Smith and I walked upstairs to the second floor. OFC directed me down the hallway to the west bedroom on the second floor, which I later learned through Xana's driver's license and other personal belongings found in the room was Xana Kernodle's room, or known as the Kernodle room hereafter. Just before this room was a bathroom door on the south wall of the hallway. This has been a little weird to a lot of people because of the way it's worded, and it never made it's conflicting with something we heard that Christy Gonzalez stated in an interview with Drunk Turkey, and I'll explain in just a moment. As I approached the room, I could see a body. Now, see, by the time he gets there at 4 o'clock, it does kind of make sense because the door would be open at that point. Apparently, when people first entered the home, the door wasn't all the way open, and they had to get the door open. Like one of the victims was laying behind the door. So by this time, the door is open. Where was I? Okay. As he approached the room, he could see a body, later identified as Kernodle, laying on the floor. Kernodle was deceased with wounds which appeared to have been caused by an edged weapon. Hey, Danger. I know. We've torn this thing apart, haven't we, dude? And you're so right. So this will also tell us that as they entered that room, Xana was first, Ethan was behind her, which kind of contradicts a report we heard where Ethan was up against the door, blocking the door from being open. So how could you see Xana first and, Ethan behind her if that was vice versa? So I'm going to go by what the PCA is telling us for purposes of today. As I walked up, okay, so I think I lost my spot. No, I didn't. Okay. As I approached the room, you could see the body. It was Xana. Also in the room was a male later identified as Ethan Chapin. And for those of you who don't know, Ethan was Xana's boyfriend, and he had spent the night there with her. Something they did all the time. Also in the room was a male later identified as Ethan Chapin, hereafter Chapin. Chapin was also deceased with wounds later determined. Autopsy report provided by Spokane medical examiner, dated December 15th, to be caused by sharp force injuries. I then followed Smith upstairs to the third floor of the residence. The third floor consisted of 2 bedrooms and 1 bathroom. That's going to be the floor where Kaylee and Maddie had their bedrooms. Excuse me. The bedroom on the west side of the floor was later determined to be Kaylee Gonzalez, hereafter known as the Gonzalez room. I later learned from review of Officer Noon's body camera there was a dog in the room when Moscow police officers initially responded. So if they get upstairs, I don't. It never says if that dog was in the room once they got there. We don't know, but I'm assuming that it was in the room if they went by this officer's body camera, stating that's where he found the dog was in the bedroom. The dog belonged to Gonzalez and her ex-boyfriend Jack Decour. Jack lived just down the street. I found out from my interview with Jack on November 13th that he and Gonzalez shared the dog. OFC Smith then pointed out a small bathroom on the east side of the third floor. This bathroom shared a wall with Madison Mogan's room, the Mogan bedroom, which was situated on the southeast corner of the third floor. And remember, if you guys were in here the other night, we talked about how her bedroom window was at the back of the house, and so if you were from behind the home, you could easily see where Maddie's room was. She had the big pink M and the pink cowboy boots in her window. As I entered this bedroom, I could see two females in the single bed in the room, and it was a single bed. Maddie had the smallest room in the house, and she had a twin bed set up in there. It might have been a youth twin, not a youth twin, but what they call a oh god, I forgot. It's not a full size, but it's not a twin. It's a little bit like in between the two. I think hers was closer to that size. As I entered the room, I could see two females in the single bed. Both Gonzalez and Mogan were deceased with visible stab wounds. I also later noticed what appeared to be a tan leather sheath laying on the bed next to Mogan's right side when viewed from the door. College twin. I should not look at chat when DB enters the room. I'm just going to start laughing and stuff, and I don't. Females in the single bed. I also later noticed what was to appear to be the sheath next to Madison's body on the right side when viewed from the door. The sheath was later processed and had KBAR USMC and the United States Marine Corps Eagle Globe and Anchor insignia stamped on the outside of it. The Idaho State Lab later located single source of male DNA, suspect profile, left on the bottom snap of the sheath. Left on the bottom snap of the sheath. Hey, Sleuthy, welcome in. Girl, I'm reading over this PCA and I haven't read it in so long and I forgot half of what it said. As part of the investigation, numerous interviews are conducted by Moscow Police Department officers, Idaho State Police detectives, and FBI agents. Two of the interviews included BF, which is Bethany Funk, and DM, which is Dylan Mortensen. Both of the girls were inside the King Road residence at the time of the homicides and were roommates to the victims. BF's room was located on the east side of the first floor. So Bethany's bedroom was on the very first floor, and she was the only one that slept down there. There was two bedrooms down there. When you walk in the front door, there was one to the immediate right. Hers was down the hall to the left. Nobody had the room to the right. It was an empty bedroom at the time. So she was the only one down there on the first floor. Dylan's room is going to be upstairs, right next to the kitchen, right next to the stairs that lead to the third floor. Sleuthy. Based on numerous interviews conducted by MPD officers, ISP detectives, and FBI agents, as well as my review of evidence, I have learned the following. On the evening of November 12th, Chapin and Kernodle were seen by Bethany at the Sigma Chi House on the University of Idaho campus from approximately 9 p.m. until November 12th to from 9 p.m. on the 12th to about 1:45 on the 13th. But, they kept coming out and saying, we need more information about where Ethan and Xana were. though they apparently were at the party from 9 to 1:45. Also estimated, but people also come out later and said no, they were already at home, so who the hell knows anymore. But I guess Bethany did see them from 9 p.m. to 12 till 1:45, according to her, on November 13th. Bethany also estimated that at approximately 1:45, Chapin and Kernodle returned to the King Road residence. Bethany also stated that Chapin did not live in the King Road residence, but what they don't ever tell us is what time Bethany got her butt home. I mean, it does later say around 2, but there was not a lot of information about these girls and where their movements throughout the night, the way they were. We all saw where Kaylee and Maddie were the other night when we were reviewing this stuff we were reviewing. We watched the walk down the sidewalk. What did you say to Adam? We watched the grub truck video. We can see the girl. And Ethan had been to a dance earlier in the evening with his sister, one of the triplets. And then he met up with Xana around 9 at the frat house, which is where he lived. Yes, danger. Those infamous phone calls. On the evening of the 12th, Chapin and Kernodle were seen. Oh, I read that part. See, I kind of put my little marker where I know where I stopped because I'll be like repeating myself to you guys. Y'all aren't going to want to hear that. Gonzalez and Mogan were at a local bar. Because it tells you right above that, though. I missed that. Let's see. I thought it mentioned it. It's down here. Okay. Gonzalez and Mogan were at a local bar, the Corner Club, which is located at 202 North Main Street in Moscow. Gonzalez and Mogan can be seen on video footage provided by the Corner Club between 10 p.m. on the 12th and 1:30 on the 13th. So that tells you they have the Corner Club video from 10 p.m. until 1:30 a.m. and can see the girls in there mingling and moving around and doing their thing. At approximately 1:30 a.m., Gonzalez and Mogan can be seen on video at a local food vendor called the Grub Truck, located at 318 Main Street in downtown Moscow. Remember I told you guys that her sister, Kaylee's sister, is the one who found that video. Somebody called her and told her, hey, they stream on Twitch, and she got the video, and then they shared it with police. That's from what we know. And they apparently always streamed their live streams. The Grub Truck live streams video from their food truck on the streaming platform Twitch, which is available for public viewing on their website. I came from the Web3 world. Twitch is normal to me. A lot of people use Twitch for a lot of different things. I knew exactly what this was when this came out. It didn't surprise me that it was happening. There was a lot of noise made about it, but if you're not a really big gamer or do a lot of things on Twitch, you may not know what it is. So they would just stream. And I don't know what you would get out of sitting there watching everybody go to the Grub Truck for, but I guess people are got nothing better to do. I would find that very boring to watch people go to the Grub Truck. Grub Truck live streams video from their food truck on the streaming platform Twitch, which is available for public viewing on their website. This video was captured by law enforcement. Was it now? A private party, and the name has been released since then, but it's redacted here, reported that he provided a ride to Gonzalez and Mogan at approximately 1:56 a.m. from downtown Moscow, from in front of the food Grub Truck to the King Road residence. Danger, stop it. Do you remember? So the ride share was not Uber and it wasn't Lyft that we know of. It was like, tell me if I'm wrong, Sleuthy Danger, if I got this incorrect memory of this part. Wasn't he like a ride share program from the school or like the kids, like, you know what I mean, affiliated with the college, not like worked for the college, but it wasn't like Uber or Lyft employed. It was like a whole different thing. And apparently he had given Kaylee rides before. Yeah, like college cabs. Yeah. So Kaylee did know this person, apparently, according to her sister. That's where we got that from. DM and BF both made statements during interviews that indicated the occupants of the King Road residence were home by 2 a.m. and asleep, or at least in their rooms, by 4 a.m. So some of them were in their rooms and some weren't. They don't really know, I guess. Between 2 and 4, they were all winding down and going to bed, I'm assuming. This is the exception of Kernodle, who received a DoorDash order at the resident at approximately 4 a.m. Law enforcement identified the DoorDash driver who reported this information. Yes, and as far as we know, the DoorDash driver came forward to report they were there. Yes, it was Eric was the name. Was he danger? I don't remember seeing that or hearing that. Oops. Hello. Hey there, how are you? The Royal We? Welcome in. Okay, DM and BF both made statements during interviews that indicated the occupants were at home by 2 a.m. and in bed by 4. And then Xana gets her DoorDash delivery at 4 a.m. DM stated she originally went to sleep in her room. That has been a big problem for a lot of us. It's like, what do you mean originally went to sleep in her room? Did she end up in another room? Did she end up running downstairs to Bethany because, scary man walked past my room? I don't know. But she stated she originally went to sleep in her bedroom on the southeast side of the second floor. Stated she was awoken at approximately 4 a.m. by what she stated sounded like Gonzalez playing with her dog in one of the upstairs bedrooms. Here's the DoorDash driver outside. I don't know. He's way up there, and DoorDash is way down there on the first floor. You could hear the car. They're not going to ring the doorbell if it's contactless delivery. Sound it, because a lot of times they'll say, "Don't ring doorbell. I have a dog or a baby's sleeping." You don't ring their darn doorbell. Just put the food down and leave. Sounded like Gonzalez playing with her dog in one of the upstairs bedrooms, which were located on the third floor. A short time later, DM said she heard who she thought was Gonzalez saying something to the effect of, "There's someone here." Now, if she heard Kaylee say, "There's someone here," Kaylee was upstairs when she said that. I, I guess. I don't think she was downstairs in the kitchen. A review of records obtained from a forensic download of Kernodle's phone showed this could also have been Kernodle, as her cellular phone indicated she was likely awake and using the TikTok app at 4:12. So they're basically saying that DM didn't know if it was Kaylee or if it was Xana. It could have been one or the other. Bring me the damn food and go away. People don't, if it's contactless delivery, it means leave it and send me a notification you dropped it. Don't knock. Don't annoy me. DM stated she looked out. So you have to think about this for a second. If Xana received DoorDash around 4 a.m. and she was actively on the TikTok app at 4:12, was the TikTok just open, already, or was she actually posted something? Is there something kind of activity on the phone, that said 4:12 to them? So between 4 and 4:12, Xana's still awake. She's eating her food. She's, messing around on TikTok. We also saw on that leaked Linda Lane footage that that car went behind that building. And again, I don't know who's in that car or what that car was doing. It's a suspect vehicle 1 at this time. It goes around that building for the final time at 4:08. Is Xana in her room between 4 and 4:12 with her boyfriend eating her food, watching TikTok? Did he make his way into that house between 4:09 and 4:12 and make it upstairs unseen or unheard? Then when he came back down, that's when Xana encountered him. I don't know. I've been always trying to figure that out. DM stated she looked out of her bedroom but did not see anything when she heard the comment about someone being in the house. Now, again, if her door is shut, is she just hearing a casual conversation, "Hey, someone's here"? Or is it yelling out to your other roommate, "Hey, someone's here"? You know what I mean? I have a hard time. I've always had a hard time thinking this girl just heard casual conversations from within her bedroom. Yeah, I agree, Danger. DM stated she looked out of her bedroom but did not see anything when she heard the comment about someone being in the house. DM stated she opened her door a second time when she heard what she thought was now. I'll show you guys a picture in a little bit, but the living room is, if you walk out Dylan's door, just to the right is going to be the living room. A step up and you're in the living room. You have to go to the left and down this little hallway to get down to Xana's room. So again, how is she just hearing casual conversations is beyond me. Um, DM stated that she opened her door a second time when she heard what she thought was crying coming from Kronodal's bedroom. DM then said she heard a male voice say something to the effect of, "It's okay, I'm going to help you." Now, what the hell kind of statement is that?
So we have once again similarities and differences to the Delphi case,
Yeah,
and where people wonder how two girls who were brutally unalived in the middle of the woods, and one of them was an athlete and was a fighter, didn't make any sounds that anybody heard. That whole afternoon, that was the state's case on when that happened. But supposedly somebody heard screams at like 2 o'clock in the morning,
2
and
a.m.
law
Mhm.
enforcement was too busy to go check it out
Can you
at 2
believe
a.m.
that, dude? I got so heated when I was reading that. You and I are reading the same things. I know we are, and I know we both know where we're seeing it. And I'm like, because they're on that shit. I'm so glad they are. But I was like, man, are you kidding me? What were they busy doing? They'd already wrapped up the search for the girls for the night, you know, because it was cold and all the things they were afraid of. These grown ass men got to run home. No, my tiny ass is staying out there in the cold, freezing until I find my baby. But they all had to go home. I get it. Go get some rest. Come back at daylight, whatever. But what do you mean y'all were busy at 2 a.m.? What were y'all doing if you weren't out searching? What were you doing?
And you have a report of a scream heard in the area where the girls disappeared.
Yeah,
How
you don't
uh,
haven't been found yet. Y'all can claim the runaways all you want. Again, America, stop saying that every time a woman or a young girl disappears, oh, she flipped out and she left. Stop it. Maybe a few of them did, but not all of them, you know. So yeah, what were you doing at 2 a.m. where you couldn't get your tail out there and investigate a scream coming from the area where you got two missing little girls? Ridiculous shit. That's what you get for kicking the FBI out.
yeah, and same here. I mean, you have people wondering how could you not hear four people brutally murdered in that house when it was full of, not full of, but when there were other people in the house who didn't get unalived. So
Well, yeah,
they did hear noises. There were noises. The dog made noises.
because
They heard somebody say, "I'm going to help you," or whatever that was,
it's
and
okay. I'm here. I'm going to help you.
yeah,
Um, you know, and someone's here. It's like these sound like, were they yelling at Dylan? Like, I want to put her on the stand. I'm not saying she did anything, but make me understand, girl, that was this yelling. It's going to help me understand what was happening in that house that night. You know, how did you just casually hear this stuff from within your bedroom? If you only, well, according to her, the last time when she saw the person walk past, she just had the door cracked. So when you heard the dog and you heard someone's here and you heard, "I'm going to help you," was your door wide open at that point? Was your head sticking out, looking around, going, "What the hell's going on?" Do you don't think it's strange? "It's okay, I'm going to help you." Now she does state through here, maybe she thought maybe it would have been Ethan and Xana fighting, but so what do you think? You thought he beat her ass and then said, "Oh, I'm going to help you now." Like, Jesus, you're no. I mean, I don't get the casual conversation thing here. It's always been weird. Um, and especially if you consider if Santa was awake, right, and got her DoorDash between 4 and 4:12, she's awake and she's eating. If she has to leave her room to go to that kitchen and somebody's coming down those stairs, they're gonna meet right then and right there. That's not gonna be a casual, oh, someone's here. Don't worry, I'm gonna help you. Excuse me, you got a big ass knife in your hand. You ain't here to help me. And this is going to all be right outside Dylan's bedroom door, like literally right outside her bedroom door. And if that's how it happened, I'm just saying a theory, guys. Say Xana did come toward that kitchen and somebody came down those stairs and he's got a knife in his hand, she's going to scream and turn around and run back toward Ethan. And you're going to tell me Dylan just heard someone's here? Or, was it a scream of someone's here? We don't know. I have to question her mentality at some point. Yes, ma'am. I'm going to get to it, Sleuthy. I want to pull up your video from the DoorDash driver thing because, guys, I'm not on board with the DoorDash driver thing, but I'm going to tell you what, for a minute, I tried to get there because I didn't know either, but Sleuthy had me and I DM'd her. I was like, okay, girl, you got me with that damn video. Now I'm down a whole ass rabbit hole with that. But we're gonna be looking into that because it's gonna come up throughout this case, and I do want to show that to clarify some stuff. It was a good video though, Sleuthy. You did a good job on it. Good theory. At approximately 4:17, and Joe, this is the camera we were talking about at the 1112 next door neighbor camera. So at approximately 4:17 a.m., a security camera located at 1112 King Road, a residence immediately to the northwest of 1122, picked up distorted audio of what sounded like voices or a whimper, followed by a thud, a loud thud. Now, I'm going to pause right there and tell y'all here in Idaho, we have a loud thud in the middle of the night. In Sebastian Rogers' case, we have a thud in the middle of the night. Guess who gets up and checks the thuds in the night? I do. I got a 9-year-old grandbaby next door to me. If I don't care if he kicks the wall, I'm getting up to check that thud. No thuds are happening around me ever again without me getting up to go and investigate it to make sure. Too much craziness going on.
Yeah, and with Sebastian, so he's a child. He's your child. He's your significant other's child, whatever it is.
Okay, Sleuthy, I'm gonna have to get you on here when we do go over that and to talk about that because I'm like interested. Like, girl, don't you? We were in a Twitter space one time, like a long time ago, chatting she and I, and she's like, "I'll go into the weeds." I'm like, "No, I'll jump with you. Don't go, because I'm coming with you if you go. Can't help it." Window, who knows? Because I have a well, he's 17 now, but my kid's a gamer. He makes all kinds of noises all night long. I'm likely to hear him cuss somebody out, bump the wall, bang the wall, hit something. I don't know. I'm always like yelling out at him, "Boys, settle down in there. Go your ass to bed. It's getting late. Don't be so loud." But I'd done that so many times, but he'd always respond back, just like Sebastian allegedly did to his mom that night. "Mom, it's okay. I'm like, I would have been like, yeah, fine, whatever, just go to bed." Not anymore. I'm getting up and looking. And then I'm going to be irritated because I had to get up and look. Oh, my Lord. It's the whole thing. Okay, so
Right.
the
So,
neighbors, go ahead, Joe.
so when you're in a college dorm or a college off-campus college housing with other
Mm,
students, then your level of attentiveness to that type of a situation obviously is not as acute as when you have your son or your significant other's child in the house with you, like in Sebastian's case. You're not necessarily going to go check out every thud because it's kind of like a party house, but what level of attention do you pay to that? I definitely would pay
yeah,
more than I think what
look,
they paid.
I've tried, to really, really give the roommates the benefit of the doubt. 19, drunk, God knows doing what else, if she did anything else, others, like a sort of drug or something, or just sloppy drunk, really didn't realize what the heck was going on outside that door. I've done my best to give her that out. I really, really have. Because as of now, there's no evidence to tie this girl to the scene of anything. You know what I mean? It wasn't her DNA on the sheath. There was no cleanup that occurred. Because if there had been a cleanup that occurred when they photographed that crime scene, Ann Taylor was there. I've got the pictures. We all know she's been there with her entire team. When she looked at all the photographs that were taken from the crime scene that day, and they shined all the things they do in there, if you ever watched Forensic Files, blood was cleaned up, especially in a fresh setting like this. You're going to see the smear marks. You're going to smell the chemicals, all those things. Ann Taylor's never once come out and indicated there was a cleanup inside that home. So I have not gotten behind that theory that those two roommates, what did they clean exactly? The main floors? Because the bedrooms were pretty gory. You know what I mean? The bodies are there. It's obvious something happened. What are you cleaning up at this point? You know, um, but if there was like smears and wipes and all those things, they can absolutely tell when that kind of thing has been done. And I think Anne's smart enough to look at a crime scene photo and say, "Excuse me, well, what the hell is going on in this photo right here? That looks like a cleanup occurred." That's just my guess that she would be able to
Right.
determine that.
And I wasn't going there with the roommates at all. I was
Yeah.
just saying, for me personally, uh, and it's hard for me to say what I would have done when I was a 19-year-old college student because I did a lot of stupid things when I was a 19-year-old college student.
Oh yeah.
But just hearing bumps in the night, conversations, how curious do you get? How much and cracking open your door and seeing a guy with bushy eyebrows, which is what most people on my level at the 50,000 foot level know about this is you see that it's like, and then you just go back to bed for however many hours you went back to bed for without any more
It's like 8 hours.
curiosity about it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I, I,
Well,
and
remember,
I'm not blaming her at all. I'm just saying, how would I have acted in that situation? Probably a little more curious.
I, I would have been, knowing me. I mean, well, I don't know. I honestly don't know. Let me put it that way, because you got all these. There's six roommates. There's what, one, two, three, four. There's all these roommates. So we know there were parties going on there all the time. We've seen the body. Well, maybe not all of you have seen them, but there were a lot of parties, and we have body cam footage of these parties. And there was literally a party one night that house was full of people, but not one person who lived there was actually at home. So if you're used to people coming and going at the house all the time, did she think, oh, well, that's somebody who was just in there visiting with Ethan and Xana? Because he's coming from toward Xana's bedroom. Remember that. He didn't come from the upstairs, but back down from Kaylee's rooms. The person was coming from the living room area, which would have been coming away from Xana's room. So did she assume that was one of Ethan's friends? And thank God they're leaving now. Maybe things will settle down and I can go my ass to sleep. Shut the door, lock it, and go to bed. End of story. Because when you see the house layout and you go into that kitchen and toward that slider, even if you're looking from Dylan's door to the kitchen, you can see into the kitchen, but you can't see that slider because there's a funky wall, right? It's a wall there, and you can literally be on the other side of that wall getting ready to exit that slider, and she's never going to see that part of it. And I'll show you guys the pictures of that in a little while when to get, because I want you all to be able to get a good idea of the house layout and what could be seen from the different rooms and how small and compact Maddie's room really was compared to the other bedrooms in the house. Just looking at chat real quick. Oh yeah, there was a lot of traffic in the house constantly. There was I think a lot of the kids had the door code as well to get in the house because they had to the cops had to call Maddie on the phone and hunt them down to say, "Hey, who lives here? You know, y'all need to get this party under control." And there was one time they did come that Xana answers the door. It was at night. There was a time they came in the daytime when Kaylee was the one that came to the door. And then we all saw the night that they went to the door, and it took people a while to come to the door. And then these guys went off to get there were home. So if you think about that, that's a dangerous situation in itself. If I live in a home, I really don't want it full of people that if there's no one there, then you don't know who's in the house, moving around doing what, looking at what. Could they get into your bedrooms? I doubt it because they had keypad entries on their bedroom doors, as far as we know. Uh, Xana's dad had been there like 2 weeks prior to fix a lock on one of the doors, but as far as we know, they all had keypad entries to their bedrooms. So let's see. Salty, do you think 1112 recording is all?
Danger, weren't there multiple recordings from the 1112? Weren't there some going to the right and then one going to the left after?
No,
No.
then he's referring to the noises that we were hearing.
Oh, okay. The thump
Because
or
no, yeah, the
the whimper.
recording is all after the unalivings because the rear slider was left open. And do you think the killer entered through this? I do think the person went through the back slider. Because are you going to take a chance? So, are you going to risk going in a front door where you can be seen more easily, right? Especially if it's a college town, people are moving about. Do you want to be seen going in the front door if you're intentionally going in there to do something horrible? You don't want to be seen or try not to be seen anyway. So I would put myself in that kind of person's shoes. I'm coming in that back door, and I don't know if it was ever locked. To be honest, you can't. It's hard to tell.
You're leaving out the back door too, aren't you? You come
Yes,
in it, you're leaving out it.
that's what we think. Well, Dylan's going to state that when. So here we go. Let's see. The security camera is less than 50 feet away from the west wall of Xana's bedroom. That's when the dog can be next door. Um, Picked up distorted audio of what sounded like voices or a whimper followed by a loud thud. A dog can also be heard barking numerous times starting at 417. The camera is less than 50 feet away from the west wall of Cornodle's bedroom. DM stated she opened her door for the third time after she heard the crying and saw a figure clad in black clothing and a and mask that covered the person's mouth and nose. I'm assuming like a COVID mask. Can we say that word on YouTube? Everybody's telling me different things about that. I could care less. It is what it is. It's a freaking pandemic mask. Like we really legit lived it. Why can't we say it? Um, Clad in black with this mouth covering, walked towards Dylan, and she described him as 5'10" or taller, a male, not very muscular, but athletically built with bushy eyebrows. The male walked past DM as she stood in frozen shock phase. Frozen shock phase. Look, I happen to look down right as I'm about to make fun of that statement. And look at you. Um, yeah, none of us understood what frozen shock phase meant. I'm like, did they meant to say? Did they misspeak and meant to say frozen shock face? Like, my face is frozen in shock. Someone's there. I don't get phase, but whatever. You do you, boo. The male walked towards the back sliding door. DM locked herself in her room after seeing the male. So apparently he left through the back sliding door and not the front. Um, it's been speculation. Was the front door open when they got there? Was the front door shut? There is a interview out there with Chief Fry. I've seen it. Clue has seen it. I cannot find it. Where he stated the back slider was open. People were like, "Oh, the front door was open." Well, probably was open because they ran out the front door and called Hunter, and Hunter ran in. Kids are coming, so I'm assuming the doors were open when the cops got there. I don't find that, you know, people were saying, well, the door was open long before the cops got there. How do y'all know? Were kids up and, there was apparently was there a neighbor who left for work early and noticed the door open? We've heard that as well. I couldn't tell you either way. I have no clue. Front door was open around 8 a.m., I believe, from the article back around the time of the crime. Yeah, that's what we heard. Somebody, a neighbor, somebody stated they saw the front door was open. Um, I have no clue. You know how those eyewitness statements can be. We just got through talking about all that in Delphi. You saw how they were all over the place. This person in Delphi didn't even have what was it? Some say face covering, some said not. Three different witnesses saw different descriptions. So, am I going to rag on DM too much for her bushy eyebrows in the dark and and a mask on? I really can't. I don't know if that's fair. I don't know. That's kind of like saying, oh, we hate the FBI in Idaho, but we darn sure wanted them over there in Delphi. Ooh, make up our minds. Anyway, she did not recognize the male. This leads investigators to believe that the murderer left the scene. Well, I'm assuming he did because nobody else got unalived. The combination of DM statements to law enforcement, reviews of forensic downloads of records, so of suspect video as described below leads investigators to believe the homicides occurred between 4 a.m. and 4:25. When they say 4 a.m., we know Xana was getting her delivery and was on TikTok at least till 4:12. Was he upstairs at the 4 a.m. mark already? But the car dips behind that building the last time at 4:08. It give the person time to park that car and get out and get into that house. We're talking 4:09 at the earliest that person made entry into that home. If that car on Linda Lane footage is our car. And that's a big if. So building the timeline, which narrowed the time down even further. During the processing of the crime scene, investigators found a latent shoe print. This was located during the second processing of the crime scene by the ISP forensic team. By first using a presumptive blood test and then clean up, because like they didn't find the footprint the first time, they found it the second time. But if you so I was in a big discussion about this one night. And Danger, I think we've talked about it as well. Did somebody slightly step in blood? I mean, not like super got blood all over them, but it was a light step into the blood. Was there a light deposit of blood transfer onto the floor there? Did it kind of dry during that 8 hours? Were they only able to see it once they did these tests? I don't know, because it don't make any sense. And we saw, if you were watching the intro, and I have the video we can play later, but they're in the crime scenes in the house, and they're in the living room doing their work. There's some kind of biological or a body in that living room, because they are taking swabs, they're doing all the taking pictures, they're doing a lot of work in the living room, toward the floor, which if you look right outside Dylan's door and turn your head, you're going to be looking right at that area where these crime scene investigators were at. So whereas all this, I'm here to help you, someone's here, noise Dylan was hearing, was all that coming from the living room and not Xana's room. That made me always wonder, did an attack start on her in the living room and she was still able to make it back to her bedroom? And that's where Ethan was encountered. That's kind of what my thought process was with that, just because of what I saw them doing inside that home, which then made me really wonder about what the hell this girl was hearing, if there was something going down in the living room. Why couldn't you hear that better than you claim you did? I don't, it's odd. I'm sorry, I was reading chat here. Yeah, the bottom of one shoe, right? I don't know. I need to know what size shoe this was. Were they able to determine what type of shoe it was? We all heard the Vans and the theories, and when all everybody in that house had Vans, I think. We saw them carrying out all the stuff that the roommates, all the victims had, and the roommates had, and there's Vans and bags of shoes and that are Vans and things like that. So we don't know whose footprint that was yet. And then it says right here the detected shoe print showed a diamond shaped pattern similar to the pattern of a Van shoe type just outside the door of Diem's bedroom. And I always wondered which direction was that footprint going. Was it going toward Dylan's bedroom? If it was going into her bedroom, I got a problem with that. Was it coming from down the stairs leading away toward Xana's room? Or was it a footprint leading out toward the kitchen as the person's exiting the home? Which way that shoe print's pointing is going to be a big deal to me in court. I don't know why I'm weird like that, but I need to know that for some reason. That's what bothers me about the shoe print. Not how it got there, whose it was, which way was it going? Was it coming out of Dylan's room, going in her room, or to the kitchen, or you know what I'm saying? I need to know that. That's odd. Direction of travel subject based on Dylan's statement. Yeah. This is consistent with DM's statement regarding the suspect's path of travel. See, it would indicate that it is leading out toward the living room, and it was a light impression into the blood that it dried. I don't know. I guess we'll figure that out when they get to court, and if they're going to show that evidence, if they can match it with one of his shoes, or if they can match it with her shoe. I was hoping she would be arrested by now, but she's not, so I'm assuming it didn't belong to her. As part of the investigation, an extensive search, commonly referred to in law enforcement as a video canvass, was conducted in the area of the King Road residence. This video canvass was to obtain any footage from the early morning hours of November 13th in the area of King Road and surrounding neighborhoods in an effort to locate the suspect or suspect vehicles traveling to or leaving from the King Road residence. The video canvas resulted in the collection of numerous surveillance videos in the area from both residential and business addresses. I have reviewed numerous videos that were collected and have had conversations with other officers, ISP detectives, and FBI agents that are similarly reviewing footage that was obtained. A review of camera footage indicated that a white sedan, hereafter known as Suspect Vehicle 1, was observed traveling westbound in the 700 block of Indian Hills at 3:26 a.m. Good old Indian Hills. Sorry, guys, I'm writing something down real quick. I'm reading comments real quick, guys. Yeah, I feel you, Danger. We've been over that so many times, haven't we? You and I discussing the possibilities, and I think that was one of our final conclusions, or thinking it anyway. Let's see. Hey, JC, welcome in. You're at work. Um, there was so much blood, JC. The smell of iron had to be super strong by the time those girls got up. We can see on one of the photos that we have that there was allegedly blood dripping down on the outside of the house from Xana's bedroom floor, where it seeped through and was coming down the side of the house. You got 4 bodies in there brutally attacked to this nature and bled completely out for 8 solid hours. There's going to be an odd smell when you get up. And did that alert her when she woke up and finally came to her and come out of her room? Was that what made her realize something was drastically wrong, or did she see something that made her think that? I don't know. So there's a lot of things that make sense about this case to me, and there's a couple of things that make absolutely no sense to me. Is it
So
some? Go ahead.
one thing that one thing that I hadn't seen before that I just pulled up on my Google Earth, um, a camera in the 700 block of Indian Hills Drive.
Mm-hmm.
Indian Hills Drive is southeast of the crime scene, and
Uh-huh.
it's across from US 95.
Yes.
So why would he drive that route? I mean, theoretically, you could say he's just trying to stay off the main routes, and so he's going back roads and he's going to go ditch his evidence or whatever it is. But that's like really southeast. That's like the opposite direction of where he needs to go to like get back home if it's Brian Kohberger.
Yeah, there's some theories out there as to why he went that way
That just
initially.
that
Yeah.
struck me is, and what was the camera in the 700 block? Was it somebody's house? Was it like
That
a
one we
video camera?
yeah, that one I'm not sure it was. Ann Taylor talks about some specific camera locations coming down the highway from Pullman into Moscow, not going the country way, going the regular way, the 12-minute between the two locations. Literally, I'm telling y'all, I live like 12 to 15 minutes outside of town. It's a straight shot. I can also go the other direction and go all the way around. Either way I go is going to be hardly any cameras because it's rural out here. I get into town, but if you leave the apartment and you come straight through Pullman into Moscow, there's all kinds of cameras and things that can see you, and there's not no shitty ass reception. It's all great and good to go. When you leave or the alleged route out going the country way is when things get sketchy as far as the phone service and all that. But there are theories as to what. I'll have to pull the map up and show you. Danger, I'm to get you, Danger. You got to schedule a show with me so we can get up here and talk about this stuff. We've been down a big mystery, not to some of us anyway. We don't know what he was doing and what the intention of going that way was. Some theorized. I'm not even going to get into the theories yet. I don't want to. There's too many, and I don't know if they're correct or if they're not correct. They don't. I don't know. They're just a little weird and nothing to back them up at all. Why is my thing stuck? Hold on, guys. I'm stuck. It won't. It will not move. Let me. Oh, there we go. Hang on. Let me do something here. I gotta fix this because it wouldn't move. I got stuck. Ah, there we go. Ah, slow down. What in the hell? All right, there we go. So remember that I I like Google Earth, but sometimes those maps are really weird and wonky and with their 3D imagery and stuff. But remember when I showed that the other night, my friend, the architect, made the drive because he went and did it by the PCA of what it said, and he sees this case in a way that a lot of people don't. He doesn't. He's not leaning toward this guy's done anything wrong. You know what I mean? He makes a really good defense argument, and that was one of the things I loved about him. We were like checks and balances for each other into Moscow according to the PCA. Um, and then we saw the where he also did it where he was leaving out. But there are theories as to what was going on with that drive. Okay, so a review of camera footage indicated a white sedan, suspect vehicle one, was observed westbound on 700 block of Indian Hills at approximately 3:26 and westbound on Steiner. Let's see, how can you hang on a minute? Oh, I see what I did. And then, so 2 minutes later, the car is seen westbound on Steiner and Highway 95. And I don't know if that was just an attempt to try to avoid anything. Um, Doc's video's gone where he did his drive and showed all those cameras along the way. And, there was the front plate, because they're not, in Florida, you're only required to have a rear plate. You're not required to have a front plate. But it was Moscow, or Idaho, are, right? Yes. Shout out to him for sure. Um, or Butterfly, are you in here? I don't know if he's got that up on his YouTube channel. He doesn't do a lot on the YouTube anymore, or he really never did. But I do have the link, and we can look at that. He sent it to me a couple days ago. I asked him for it. I was like, "Hey, you still got that link? Because I want to look at that." I think it's on his YouTube channel, but he's known as the architect on I almost said TikTok, Twitter, and on YouTube. Hopefully, I can get him on soon to be able to come and talk to us too about his theories in this, because but we'll get that and review that. It is. I mean, I like the drive, but it just looks weird because it's on the Google Earth map. On the videotape, it appeared suspect one was not displaying the front license plate. A review of multiple videos obtained from King Road neighborhood showed multiple sightings of suspect one starting at 329. So if you're on, you're at Steiner and 95 at 328, and a minute later you're entering the neighborhood, which is also weird because Linda Lane's got a car coming back there at what, 328, something like that. So I don't know how great their little times are here. Excuse me. So they start the neighborhood camera sees the car starting at 329 and ending at 420. These sightings show suspect vehicle one residence and leave via Walenta. The only way to know that is if you're looking at the 1112, the neighbor's camera. There may be some other cameras right there, but it appears this is where that came from, was the 1112. And it can see that car come into the neighborhood each time that it makes the pass, because the camera's literally sitting right there trained on the stop sign. You have to go past it to get to King Road House. There's no way around it, unless you come in the other direction and you sneak in by foot. A review of footage. Okay, so these vehicles and then leave via Walenta Drive. And remember the other day, Joe, when we went, I showed you guys when you leave the neighborhood and you go left, that's Walenta Drive, and it circles back around and it turns into Ridge Road. A review of footage from multiples obtained showed, oh, I read that part, sorry. He passes and leaves via Walenta. Based off my experience as a patrol officer, this is a residential neighborhood with a very limited number of vehicles that travel in the area during the early morning hours. Upon review of the video, there are only a few cars that enter and exit this area during this time. Suspect vehicle 1 can be seen entering the area a fourth time at approximately 4:04. So that would have been. Do you think he passed the DoorDash driver as the DoorDash driver was leaving? Or do you think DoorDash got in there at 4 a.m. and got out by 4:01, 4:02, and they just did miss each other? If we're going by a suspect, I don't know who's in suspect vehicle 1. I always say that. I'm just rolling with suspect vehicle 1 right now. So I don't know. Did DoorDash driver pass a car? Even if he did he think happens? I doubt it. I mean, I only do sometimes. Depends on my mood. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm a very observant person. I'm a people watcher. But being in true crime and following it for 30 damn years, I watch everything and everybody. I try to make mental note of things I find peculiar. Just because I'm paying attention to what cars are creeping around in the night doesn't mean everybody's paying attention. I mean, DoorDash driver could have been like, I'm tired. I'm going home now. Screw these hungry ass people. I'm out of here, and just went home. Didn't even pay no time, much, no mind to that car whatsoever. Yeah, right. And if you did see the DoorDash driver, danger, because think about that. Because if he did, then he's going to know, well, somebody in that damn house is awake. I better not do this tonight. That's what I would tell myself. Don't be a fool. There's people awake in there. Somebody's coming into my house. Hold on. Hey, is that you? Okay, it's all safe. It's all good. It's just one of the kiddos coming in a little bit earlier than I expected. Like, don't be doing that. Come out of my room with a weapon. All right. What danger? DoorDash went to Taco Bell, or was that a rumor? No, remember Rory claimed he found the DoorDash driver. We're all safe now. Everyone speculated it was from Jack in the Box. Thank you, Firefly. Or, damn it, I did it again, Butterfly. Okay, let me get back on track now. These kids surprised me coming in a little bit earlier. Okay, so suspect vehicle 1 can be seen entering the area a fourth time at approximately 4:04. It can be seen driving eastbound on King, stopping and turning around in front of 500 Queen Road 52, and then driving back westbound. That, remember when we were watching the leaked Linda Lane the other day, and the first time the car comes back, you can see it turn around and go the other way, or turn around and go back down the road. I'm assuming that's what it meant um, by that. When suspect vehicle 1 is in front of the King Road residence, it appeared to unsuccessfully attempt to park or turn around in the road. How are they going by the lights based off the 1112 camera that it sees shadows and lights moving around, and they're assuming it's doing something? If there's not a camera trained on the front of that residence, how do they know that car's attempting to turn around or park in front of the home? That's always bothered me, hasn't it, danger? Like, I can't let it go, can I? Oh my goodness. Like, don't be so specific with your words, because I'm going to be asking the questions. So, when suspect vehicle 1 is in front of the King Road residence, it appeared to unsuccessfully attempt to park or turn around in the road. The vehicle then continued to the intersection of Queen and King, where it can be seen completing a 3-point turn, which is going to be right in front of the camera at 1112, and then driving back eastbound again down Queen Road, back up behind the apartments again. Suspect vehicle 1 is next seen departing the area of King Road residence at approximately 420 at a high rate of speed. Suspect vehicle 1 is next observed traveling southbound on Walenta Drive. I can't let go of Walenta Drive either. You know it, danger. God, we spent way too much time in this town, didn't we, on these maps? That's probably what's wrong with me today. Based on my knowledge of the area and a review of the camera footage in the neighborhood that does not show. See, this is the weird one. Based on my knowledge of the area and a review of camera footage in the neighborhood that does not show suspect vehicle 1 during that time frame. I believe that the suspect vehicle 1 likely exited the neighborhood at Palouse Drive. Now, Conestoga, we've mapped that, and you can leave that. That's why I wish I had Doc's video to show you guys, because he takes a really good drive down Walenta and goes both directions. Um, and I've mapped it myself, and you can, in leaving Palouse and Conestoga, you still should have had some cameras that would have been able to see that car, because there's residents right there on those streets as well. Palouse River Drive is at the southern edge of Moscow and proceeds into Whitman County, Washington. Eventually, the road leads to Pullman, Washington. Now, maybe there's not cameras back there and they don't see the car once it gets out onto Willenta and then takes off down that way. I don't know. But you better hope you got a little more solid evidence than, other if you take the sheath out of the whole picture, you got a car in an area, it don't mean nothing. Except, in Delphi, my car's there because I was literally there, says Richard Allen. Kohberger says that's not even my damn car because I wasn't even there.
But he was stargazing, right? He was driving in the
Yeah.
country,
Yes.
but to undisclosed locations.
Yeah, because people think he was at Wawawi Park, but Ann states in that document that he had come to know Wawawi Park and come to like going there. But on that, as the weather changed, getting colder and all the things, instead of going out to the park and stargazing, he began to drive around. So she never said he was like there the whole night at that park. The park is closed at night. Our parks close at night like that. Some can, but if you get caught, you're going to get in trouble. He's a criminology PhD student with a teaching assistant. He really wanted to get caught sneaking into a park to go sit on the bench and look at some stars. You can sit right there in your car right outside the gate and do it without getting in trouble. So that's what we, yes, that was, and he didn't come out and say that at first either. It took him a while to come out with his alibi. And there's still no witnesses that can back up or corroborate that alibi. Nobody that talked to him that night that can back it up or corroborate it, according to Ann Taylor. He was alone driving around, and they're going to prove
But
that
the key
using
the
the
key
FBI's cast.
the key to me is, as your everyday Joe Schmo, is was he driving around to just undisclosed locations, just randomly driving around where you can't prove where he was or where he wasn't? Or was he driving around to locations where you can prove where he was as a positive alibi, which isn't the defense's burden? The defense does not have the burden of proof to
Mm-mm.
prove your alibi, but it does help. It is, I
Yeah.
mean, obviously, as we saw with Richard Allen, it does impact the jury.
Yes. It does. And if I'm on a jury, just as it is right now, and if they can come in and show me like that Linda Lane we saw that is grainy, there's no positive ID on that car. I need an expert to sit there and show me different cars and show me how that it could be. I've seen the overlays and I see how it could be a Hyundai Elantra. Still doesn't mean it was his, right? Um, Yeah, so as far as from what I recall his attorney saying in the hearing, there's no car video camera footage going to back up where that car was that night. They're going to use the cell phone data to tell you where that car was. And I said it from the beginning. Everybody's like, well, he's not that stupid. He's a criminology major. He had his phone with him. You're right, he did, but why? If he's the guy, why take the damn phone? Why not leave it on the bed or on the nightstand by the bed and say, I forgot my phone that night and I was too far from home to go back and get it. I was on the middle of my drive. End of story in my mind. That phone was took for a reason. if you're that smart and you did it. Well, we just got through hearing in Delphi to preserve a phone, you better put it in airplane mode and drop it in a Faraday bag. Faraday bags were brought up in this case, I bet you week 2. We deep dove that stuff. We've deep dove it all. You would be surprised at how many articles of clothing that you can go purchase on the internet that look normal that will prevent you from getting stabbed and cut. Like legit stuff that's out there that blew my mind, that's out there readily available. All you got to do is look it up and order it. We've looked at a lot of different things. So yeah, Ann Taylor says they're going to use the phone data to prove he was out driving around. And that's where Cy comes into play. But I'm telling you, she mentioned Nick Balance in her court hearing. Nick Balance is the FBI top dog in Idaho on cast, and I watched him testify in Chad Daybell, and he's really good. So Cy needs to really bring it. They're going to have a good meeting of the minds in that courtroom, and I'm here for it because I need to hear from both of them. I don't need her to tell me. She's an attorney. She's going to tell me a lot of things. I don't need randoms, people, theories. No, I need to hear from these two experts as to why this data is or isn't any good. And then I'll make my own determination once that is done. But I watched Nick's whole testimony in the Chad Daybell case, and I was like, damn, Cyril, you better bring it, buddy, because this guy's pretty good. He explains it very well, even down to the drive time testing. And Taylor's already wanted to know about their drive time test machine. You have to calibrate these things. Everybody's over there wondering how they didn't do one of them in Delphi. No, they did not even bother to do that in Delphi. And that would have told them how well those cell phones would ping in and around that area. And that's what they did in the Chad Daybell case, and they actually did it in this case as well. So they would drive around the vicinity right there, and be able to see, because it's one thing to say, well, I was out driving, right, and I lost service, because I'm telling you, when I go to town, there's this, I'm going to lose my service right there, and it might be for a few minutes. It seems like it's getting better every time I go out, but there were times it would drop and it would be out for 5 minutes and it would come back on, and sometimes a little bit longer. It would just depend. So it's one thing to say, well, I was out in the country driving and my phone went offline for 2 hours. Well, according to this PCA, the car is headed toward Moscow. Then it goes offline. So then you turn around, went back the other direction, and that's when you went to the countryside for 2 hours and then went back home. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how the phone's data plays out in this case.
It's so crazy how our world has evolved into cell phone data being some of the most critical data in an investigation and and a trial.
You don't think that Nick Balance will testify for the state of Idaho, the state where he's works at? That's literally, and he is like testifies in all the court hearings. So and he's already been brought up in this case, between detectives and Ann Taylor. That's who they got their cast information from, was Nick Balance. So pretty good chance he's coming to testify. The state called him in against Chad Daybell because you have to when the state brings in their FBI cast person, that's who they called on, is Nick Balance in the state of Idaho, in that region. And I think he testified in Lori's trial as well. And he was back to testify that's how I knew the name. When it came up in court in Kohberger's hearing, I'm like, wait a minute, I already know this guy, and I already know that name. I already know what he is and what he does. And that's when I went back and reviewed the other trials, and I was like, whoa. So I'll be surprised if he's not called when that's like his literal job. Let me go back up here and make sure I didn't miss a spot. Okay. So they believe he left out going Palouse River Drive in Conestoga, and which leads you back to Whitman County in Washington, approximately 10 miles from Moscow, Idaho. Both Pullman and Moscow are small college towns, and people commonly travel back and forth between them. Law enforcement officers provided video footage of suspect vehicle 1 to forensic examiners and with the Federal Bureau of Investigation that regularly utilize surveillance footage to identify the year, make, and model. F Federal Bureau of Investigation that regularly utilize surveillance footage to identify the year, make, and model of an unknown vehicle that is observed by one or more cameras during the commission of a criminal offense. The forensic examiner has approximately 35 years law enforcement experience, with 12 years at the FBI. His specific training includes identifying unique characteristics of vehicles, and he uses database that gives visual clues of vehicles across states to identify differences between the vehicles. So we're talking about more than sunlight through your spooky rims. But we still couldn't get the car year right in Idaho either. Like, I don't know about you car guys. I might be better at it than you are. After reviewing the numerous observations of suspect vehicle 1, the forensic examiner initially believed that suspect vehicle 1 was a 2011 to 2013 Hyundai Elantra. Upon further review, he indicated it could be a 2011 to 2016. To me, I don't find that too incredibly odd, considering it's a 2015. It's right in between the two parameters they set. Um, and like, in state to state, sometimes cars do vary a tiny bit. I don't know, but they had a hard time narrowing down exactly which. Maybe because, like I said, if you guys want a good, if you're trying to catch thieves coming around your house, you better buy damn good cameras, or else you're getting grainy footage and you may not ever catch the person. These cameras aren't very good at capturing cars. They captured Stephon Stern's car pretty darn good, though. Ones in Florida must be jam up. We don't play around. We're like, going to get your ass on camera. In fact, I know they will, because they sent me one a while back of my son passing a school bus and got himself a big old ticket. I'm like, dude, that's my car. What are you doing? They'll send it to you in the mail, tell you to download it and watch it. It's clear as a bell. Investigators were given access to footage video on the Washington State University WSU campus located in Pullman, Washington. A review of that video indicated that at approximately 2:44 a.m. on November 13th, a white sedan, which was consistent with the description of the white Elantra known as Suspect 1 vehicle, on Southeast Nevada Street at Northeast Stadium Way. At approximately 2:53 a.m., the white sedan, which is consistent with the description of the white Elantra known as Suspect Vehicle 1, was observed traveling southeast on Nevada Street in Pullman towards SR 270. SR 270 connects Pullman, Washington to Moscow, Idaho. This camera footage from Pullman, Washington was provided to the same FBI forensic examiner. The forensic examiner identified the vehicle observed in Pullman as being a 2014 to a 2016. So that particular camera, I guess, gave them a better view of the car, maybe, and they changed it again to a 2014 to 2016. At approximately 5:25 a.m., white sedan, which was consistent with the description of suspect vehicle 1, was observed on 5 cameras in Pullman. Not just one at Hoosier Harvester that we left sitting there for 5 years. 5 different cameras in Pullman, Washington, and on WSU campus cameras. The first camera that recorded the white sedan was located at 1300 Johnson Road in Pullman. The white sedan was observed traveling northbound on Johnson Road. Johnson Road leads directly back to West Palouse River Drive in Moscow, which intersects with Conestoga Drive. The white sedan. Uh-oh. What'd you just send me, Danger? The white sedan was observed. Sorry, guys. I get distracted too easily. The white sedan was observed traveling northbound on Johnson Road. Johnson Road leads directly back to West Palouse River Drive in Moscow, which intersects with Conestoga. The white sedan was then observed turning north onto Bishop Boulevard and northwest onto 270. At 5:27 a.m., the white Elantra was observed on cameras traveling northbound on Stadium Way at Nevada Street, Stadium Way at Grimes Way, Stadium Drive at Wilson Road, and Stadium Way at Cougar Way. Let me see what the comments are saying yet. You think you think DB? My kind of take on one of the hearing about all that was I felt like Kasai wasn't disputing the FBI's work, in my opinion. What they were disputing was the interpretation of the work, and which is I think kind of what you're alluding to there a little bit maybe. They like entered it wrong, or they didn't know what they were doing with it, and but he's all like, no, I entered it, what they told, what they gave me is what I entered. Well, why do you even got to enter anything if they gave you a report? It's like, it's whatever. But yeah, I understand what you're saying now. Well, if Nick's report didn't work, somebody's got to come testify to that. That's going to be interesting, because I did allude to the FBI not being wrong, but something breaking down after the FBI was finished with their drive test and how Mowry had to redo the reports. Yeah, it was something to that nature. You're exactly right. That was the whole way she was going with that. I got you, Danger. Yes, Nick and Cy do know each other. Cy used to work with these guys. That's why I know he knows those agents in Idaho. He did used to work with them. And I have popped into his little true crime podcast every now and then with him and his wife. I don't dislike the guy. On November 25th, 2022, MPD asked area law enforcement agencies to be on the lookout. But with that said, we got to remember there's been a time or two that Cy's work was not even allowed in court. And so there's that. Yeah. Two, MPD asked area law enforcement agencies to be on the lookout for a white Hyundai Elantra in the area on November 29th at approximately 12:28 a.m. Now remember that date. Which came first, the chicken or the egg, the IGG or this car was discovered in this parking lot? Which one do y'all think? Y'all want to take bets? Danger, what do you think? At approximately 12:28 a.m., Washington State University WSU police officer Daniel Tiango queried white Elantras registered at WSU. As a result of that query, he located a 2015 white Elantra with a Pennsylvania license plate. This vehicle was registered to Brian Kohberger, hereafter Kohberger, residing at 1630 Northeast Valley Road, apartment 201 in Pullman, Washington. The address is approximately 3/4 of a mile from the intersection of Stadium Way and Cougar Way. Last camera location that picked up the white Elantra. What, baby? Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry. Hang on one second, guys. Grandson had to come in and say hi to me. Okay. So where he lived was 3/4 of a mile away from the intersection of Stadium Way and Cougar Way was the last camera location that picked up that Elantra. I was just checking the time there, Joe. Are you still with me? Or are you checking on something? That
Oh
same
no,
day
I'm
at
still here. I'm still
okay.
here.
Okay, I might let you take over for a second. I'm going to go grab a cup of coffee in just a minute. The same day at approximately 12:58, WSU officer Curtis Whitman, like what minutes later, was looking for white Elantras and located a 2015. Now, wouldn't your buddy, if your buddy just queried all these cars and one come up and we got one registered here and I got his name, wouldn't you dispatch that to the other guys and they're going to start looking around for the car? You would think. Or if they got your address off your damn driver's license, go start surveilling you or whatever. Like, go look at the car, go in the parking lot, walk around, take a look at it. You can do that inconspicuously. I can. Why can't you? Pretend like I'm walking out. I'd borrow somebody's dog. I need to take your dog for a walk, man. I got some snooping to do. Got to go check out this car. That same day at approximately 12:58, WSU officer Curtis Whitman was looking for a white Elantra, or looking for white Elantras, and located the 2015 white Elantra at 1630 Northeast Valley Road in Pullman, in the parking lot. 1630 Northeast Valley Road is an apartment complex that houses WSU students. Officer Whitman also ran the car and it returned to Kohberger with a Washington tag. I reviewed Kohberger's Washington state driver's license information and photograph. The license indicate that Kohberger is a white male with a height of 6 feet and weighs 185 pounds. Additionally, the photograph of Kohberger shows that he has bushy eyebrows. Damn, problem. There you go. Case solved, right? Kohberger's physical description is consistent with the description of the male DM saw inside the King Road residence. So that's how they allege, that's how the state says they ended up on Brian Kohberger. Did Payne know? I don't know. Yeah, I agree. I mean, yeah, he will have to be because the Judge Hippler, he's like, I've been around a while. He's on a, he does a lot around there in Ada County. I've looked into some because I've kind of knew him a little bit already. He wasn't the judge on the Daybell or Vallow case. That was a different judge. But this judge has had his. Today I caught another news story on them where they're wanting to get a new courthouse. They're outgrowing the one they're in, and things like that. And he sits on all these boards to do all this and the death penalty stuff. He's got way more trial experience in these high profile cases than Judge. I think he's a little bit more confident in his rulings and decisions than Judge would have been. Because Ann's bringing it, and we saw him already tell her, no, I'm not going to extend your time beyond what was already given, because Lord knows she keeps asking for more time. For a guy who was just out riding around and you're going to be able to prove that using the state's evidence, I don't know what you need more time for. And another creator that I respect a lot, we had pretty different views on this case in the beginning. She brought up a good point. And if you don't know who it is, it's Jules of All Trades. I watched her this morning. I think it was her last video on the recent doc. She's going through the documents one by one. But she's like, why are you just wanting to get rid of the first AT&T search warrant and not both? Why just the one? She's got really good questions to ask. And so okay, Joe, go right ahead. Let me see what y'all got to say here. Yeah, it's I don't know. I don't know if they're just saying this because I honestly, guys, I have never seen. Like I've said, there are a few things about the PCA that are bothering me, like Dylan's sketchy. I hear this and that stuff, and you don't hear screaming. That's weird to me. I've never seen the weirdness in Kohberger's case like most people see, and that's but mostly based on rumors. Um, there are some defense attorneys out there that I've listened to over the time that are going that this is a pretty strong PCA. Others are going to tell you it's not a strong PCA. and they were both on the same side in Delphi. So I'm not gonna, I think they got in my opinion only, there's a lot more probable cause in Kohberger's case than there ever was in Delphi. And I do not see the amount of issues in this case that I saw in Delphi. Like, I really don't. I've tried to get there over and over and over. I've tried to get behind all the things, and people who know me well that have been watching me watch this case for a long time, like Danger, they know I've tried to get behind all of that. And I'm right back to where I began. Like, I just don't know. What bothers me the most is what came first. You found this car through your queries and you're driving around in the parking lot, or you damn IGG. That was always an issue in this case. Yeah, way harder to endangers back and forth. One minute he's like, we were pretty good about going back and forth, like me being prosecution, him being defense. It's funny when we're chatting behind the scenes about it. Because you got to do that sometimes. It's checks and balances. I don't want to ever lean so far in that I'm like, I can't see the writing on the wall kind of thing. You guys can see discrepancies and point them out to me. I'm down for it. But I haven't seen a lot of that yet, except for just a couple of little sketchy things here and there that makes you go, you know. Still don't mean he's not the guy, but how did they get the evidence? Or not the evidence, but how did they get to him? Was it the IGG, or you really legit found the car? I don't know. And then he only, the description here in the eyebrow situation. A lot of guys have bushy eyebrows, but I guess if that's all you notice, it's all you notice. If they got a mask on, you can't. What are you gonna do? If you got a damn mask on and it's dark, that might be all I notice about you is you got thin eyebrows or big ones, or I don't know. It's hard to say. Okay, so they saw the bushy eyebrows and they determined that's what, this guy looks like what that girl that was in the house, the witness told us the description of. And don't ask me how tall a person is. I can give you a lot of details about what's happening around me, but don't ask me don't ever come to me and say, well, how tall do you think he was? I'm going to guess wrong each and every time. I promise you. I know how tall I am. I'm going to say, well, they were about that much tall, this much taller than me, or this much taller than me, but I'm not going to be able to give you a good number. I'm just not. My kids are tall. I'm not. But I don't know how damn tall they are. Like, I would guess wrong each and every time. People made a big deal about that. Well, Dylan's saying he's this and he's that, and she's tall. And I can't fault a 19-year-old girl for getting the height description wrong when I know damn well Anyway, further investigation, including a review of Latah County Sheriff Deputy C.P.L. Duke's body cam and reports, showed that on August 21st, now this is the one we haven't seen. Am I correct, Danger? Um, Brian Kohberger was detained as a part of a traffic stop that occurred in Moscow. Now, we got not leaked, but we got the body cam footage of where he was pulled over. And Joe, you pulled that up on your channel the other night, right? Joe may have had to step away for a second.
No,
Uh,
I'm
you're
back.
here? Okay, yeah. You pulled up the traffic stop with the female cop that we reviewed in your channel the other day, right?
That wasn't the other day. That was like probably about like a month or so ago that we pulled that
Oh,
up.
was it? Like, okay.
Yeah,
So,
but that was a scenario
mm-hmm.
where he was in the left turn lane and he
Yeah.
pulled out into the intersection like most of us do, and then the light turned red and he had nowhere to go. So I don't know if he tried to back up or if he went on through the red light, but she pulled him over and she said, you can't pull into the intersection until you have a clear path of travel. And he said, well, prove it to me in like the Idaho state code, which is a mistake with the cop. But anyway,
Yeah.
that was what.
That that footage has been out there a long time, but for some reason this particular one has never been out. And a lot of us that have followed the case from the beginning have never understood why FOIA request for this one apparently was denied. We don't know why. If they put it under seal as part, we don't know what the hell the gist behind that is. So Now, the crimes took place in November. So this shows that on August 21, Brian Kohberger was detained as a part of a traffic stop that occurred in Moscow, Idaho, by CPL Duke. At the time, Kohberger, who was the sole occupant, was driving a white 2015 Hyundai Elantra with Pennsylvania plates, which was set to expire on November 30th. During the stop, which was recorded via a law enforcement body cam, Kohberger provided the phone number as, and then they give the phone number, um, as his cellular telephone number. Investigators conducted electronic database queries and learned that the 8458 phone is a number issued by AT&T. This was brought up in Ann's latest filings. And it read as if they took the information and began looking into his phone before a warrant was issued. Let me check chat here.
So they took the phone before a warrant was issued. So did they request it, and it was given voluntarily, or they took it involuntarily?
He gave his phone number. He provided his phone number. They didn't have the phone itself, but he provided his. It says here during the stop, which was recorded via law enforcement body cam, Kohberger provided his phone number, and then they list the phone number. Then it
Okay, so
says,
what
yeah,
information did they get from that?
I don't know. Investigators conducted electronic database inquiries or queries and learned that the phone is a number issued by AT&T. And that's all we know. And then it goes on to say, on so they place him, which is to me is not odd because if you're 12 15 minutes between the two towns, all the kids are back and forth. We know that kids from Moscow would go to Pullman and vice versa. It wasn't like an oddity that you never go to each other's towns. They did it all the damn time. um, there was like a bar over in Pullman. I think that the kids would turn 21. They would all go there. And, it was like a thing. And there's just a lot of things. So being in Moscow, even though you lived in Pullman, isn't an oddball thing to do. Kind of like going to the Delphi Trails to take a walk. You know what I mean? It wasn't odd to be. It wasn't odd for Kohberger to be in Moscow. Not once, not twice, not even 12 damn times. To me, that doesn't prove anything. But he was going down there to either shop, eat, drink, whatever he was doing, hang out with a couple of friends, whatever. Okay, so they got him over there on August 21st, and he provided his phone number for whatever reason. I don't know that. I don't. Well, I haven't got stopped by a cop in gosh years and years and years, but I don't know if I could ever give him my phone number. So then on October 14th, Brian Kohberger was detained as part of a traffic stop by WSU police officer. Upon review of that body cam and report of the stop, Kohberger was the sole occupant and was driving a 2015 white Elantra with the Pennsylvania plate. On November 18th, according to Washington state licensing, Kohberger registered the 2015 Elantra with Washington and later received Washington plates. Now, here in Florida, you have to do that on your birthday. Every year on your birthday, you get your little notice in the mail and you're going to expire or whatever. And you got to get we do it by birthdays here. I am assuming they may do it the same way out there because it appears he went and got that changed right around the time for his birthday. But it was due to expire. And I guess if he had planned to live there, he was going to get it changed. I don't know. Prior to this, the 2015 Elantra was registered in Pennsylvania. Now, some speculate, well, it was Pennsylvania and he switched it to Washington to throw them off. Well, that's weird because he lives in Washington now. So if he's not the suspect and didn't do anything, it's not abnormal to change from where you moved a few months ago and to wait until it's literally time instead of doing it early. Wait until it's time to do it and then do it. I didn't find that part odd either. It's like you got to give me something real for me to find odd. This right here is just kind of like normal life stuff. Everybody has to get their damn car registered. Different, but it didn't appear crazy to me. Um, So he switched the license plates over to the Washington on November 18th to Washington state license. Kohberger registered the Elantra in Washington. Okay, I said that part. When it was registered in Pennsylvania, which does not require front license plate to be displayed, and Idaho did. This was learned through communications with Pennsylvania officer who is currently certified in the state of Pennsylvania. So Pennsylvania didn't require a front plate like Idaho and Washington. So, you know, your camera should still be able to pick up something on your red lights. So they all trained to the front of the cars. I guess they have rear and front and rear. Do some states have both, I guess? Based on my own experience in communication with Washington law enforcement, I know that Idaho and Washington require front and back license plates to be displayed. Investigators believe that Kohberger is still driving the 2015 Elantra because his vehicle was captured on December 13th by a license plate reader in Loma, Colorado. Information provided by a query to a database. Kohberger's Elantra was then queried on December 15th of 2022 by law enforcement in Hancock County, Indiana. And that's one of the stops you played the other day, or like a month ago, I guess it was when we did it now. On December 16th, 2022, at approximately 2:26, surveillance showed Kohberger's Elantra in Albrightsville, Pennsylvania. Now, that was all that was going when he left Washington and was headed back to Pennsylvania with his dad on their trip back home for the holidays. And we know that he was stopped twice in Indiana. And I think Anne pretty much alluded to the fact that he was surveillanced from Washington all the way back out there. I mean, if this is your main suspect, you should be surveilling the person. Like, that's not abnormal to me either. I watch plenty of cop shows. They be trailing the person the whole time the show is on. It's like, if you don't do it, you're a stupid cop. But if you do it, then they're like, oh, what are you doing? Jesus Christ. You surveil your number one suspect if you're going to do it. Based on information provided on WSU website, Kohberger is currently a PhD student in criminology at Washington State University. Pursuant to records provided by a member of the interview panel for Pullman Police Department, we learned that Kohberger's past education included undergraduate degrees in psychology and cloud-based forensics. Cloud-based forensics. These records also show Kohberger wrote an essay when he applied for an internship. Now, this has got a lot of people don't care for this part. An essay when he applied for an internship with the Pullman Police Department in the fall of 2022. Kohberger wrote in his essay he had interest in assisting rural law enforcement agencies with how to better collect and analyze technological data in public safety operations. Expertise, huh? And y'all don't think he knows how to fight it if he is the guy or would have some ideas? I find that very interesting. Kohberger also posted a Reddit survey which can be found by an open source internet search. The survey asked for participants to provide information to understand how emotions and psychological traits influence decision making when committing a crime. Now, that's not so far-fetched because that's what you do if you're a student of this nature. And you put out these questions to do your projects with and things like that. It's been explained to that I've heard that a million times. Everybody's like, don't throw shade at that. That's like a legit thing. I can honestly see that. And I can also honestly tell you, I find it very bizarre. He's out there trying to train rural law enforcement agencies to better do their job on analyzing technological data. Doesn't mean he did anything wrong, but I find that interesting as hell. As part of this investigation, law enforcement obtained search warrants to determine cellular devices that utilize cell towers in close proximity to the King Road residence. On November 13th, between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m. After determining that Kohberger was associated to both the 2015 Elantra and the phone number, investigators reviewed the search warrants. The search warrant returns. A query of the phone in these returns did not show the phone utilizing cell tower resources in close proximity to the King Road residence between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m. during the time of the alleged murders. No, not the alleged murders, the murders. Based on my training and experience, and remember, the 4 a.m. cameras are seeing a car all over the place right there near the home, so. And then his phone's off for those 2 hours. Based on my training and experience and conversations with law enforcement officers that specialize in the utilization of cellular telephone records as part of investigations, individuals can either leave their cellular telephone at a different location before committing a crime, or to turn their cell phone off prior to going to a location. I forgot that was in there. Leave it at a different location. But we need to have a night of theories and rabbit holes, because I've been on that rabbit hole theory for a long time. Was it left somewhere else during that 2 hours? Like, make it make sense. Like, if I'm gonna try to say this is the guy, I got to figure out what he did every step of the way, whoever that person was. This is done by subjects in an effort to avoid altering law enforcement that a cellular device associated with them was in a particular area where a crime is committed. I also know that on numerous occasions, subjects will surveil an area where they intend to commit a crime prior to the date of the crime. Depending on the circumstances, this could be done in a few days. Sorry. Well, yeah. Well, it depends on how. Well, it could be done in a few days, but if you want to be really dead set on the person's coming and goings, it might take more than a few days or several months prior to the commission of a crime. During these types of surveillance, it is possible that an individual would not leave their cellular telephone at a separate location or turn it off, since they do not plan to commit the offense in that particular day. So he's saying, while you're out surveilling your potential victims, you're not leaving your phone off or at a different location. You got it with you the whole time. Well, duh. Because y'all aren't supposed to know I'm out there doing that. On December 23rd, 2022, I applied for and was granted a search warrant for historical phone records between November 12th at midnight and November 14th at midnight for the phone number held by the phone provider at AT&T, approximately 24 hours preceding the following times of the homicide. On December 23rd, 2022, pursuant to the search warrant, I received records for the 8458 phone number from AT&T. Is subscribed to Brian Kohberger at an address in Albrightsville, Pennsylvania, which is where his parents were lived, the home of his parents. And the account has been open since June of 2022. Didn't he move there in June? Danger? Sleuthy, are you still in here? I think he moved, from what we've been able to narrow down, going by when his teaching assistant job took place and when school started back for the semester. He arrived in June or July. So maybe it was in his parents' name, but if it was in his name, I don't know. People keep phone numbers from out of state all the time. Mine's not, but I know people that I know do have phones from like Michigan and all this. I'm like, why are you calling me from Michigan? They're like, I'm not, but I'm like, you live here. Why does it say Michigan? It just does. After receiving this information, I consulted with FBI Special Agent S.A. Now, remember when Ann brought up the special agent the other day in the hearing, guys? This is who they're talking about. Or no, not this one, but they're going to get him in a minute. Consulted with an FBI agent S.A. Unless that is Agent Shirley. This is certified as a member This is certified as a member of Cellular Analysis Team CAST. Members of CAST are certified by the FBI and are required to pass extensive training that includes both written and practical examinations prior to be certified with CAST, as well as completion of yearly clarification requirements. Additionally, the FBI CAST SA that I consulted with has over 15 years of federal enforcement experience, which includes 6 years with the FBI. From information provided by CAST, I was able to determine estimated locations of the phone from November 12th to November 13th, the time period authorized by the court. On November 13th at approximately 2:42 a.m., the phone was utilizing cell resources that provide coverage to 1630 Northeast Valley Road. Now, they went over all the car movements earlier, and now they're going through the phone stuff. At approximately 2:47, the phone utilized cell resources that provided coverage southeast of Kohberger's residence, with the 8458 phone leaving the Kohberger residence and traveling south through Pullman. This is consistent with the movement of the white Elantra. At 2:47 a.m., the phone stops reporting to the network, which is consistent with either the phone being in an area without cell coverage, the connection to the network is disabled, such as putting it in airplane mode, or the phone is turned off. The 8458 phone does not report back to the network again until approximately 4:48 a.m., at which time it utilizes cell resources that provide coverage to Idaho State 95 south of Moscow, near Blaine and north of Genesee. That's leaving out of Moscow, going out the country way, opposite the way they allege the car came in. The phone utilized cell resources that are consistent with the 8458 phone traveling south on Idaho State Highway 95 to Genesee, Idaho, then traveling towards Uniontown, and then back into the Pullman, Washington area. At approximately 5:30 a.m., the phone is utilizing resources that provide coverage to Pullman, Washington, and consistent with phone traveling back to the Kohberger residence. The 8458 phone's movements are consistent with the movements of the white Elantra that is observed traveling north on Stadium at approximately 5:27. So they're trying to line up and match, though. So you got a 5:30 phone utilizing, they're in Pullman, and they're going to try to match it up when that car was seen, if they're like in the same locations. Based on the review of the phone estimated locations and travel, the phone's travel is consistent with that of the white Elantra. Further review indicated the phone utilized cellular resources on November 13th that are consistent with the phone leaving the area of Kohberger residence at approximately 9 a.m. and traveling to Moscow. Specifically, the phone utilized cellular resources that would provide coverage to the King Road residence between 9:12 a.m. and 9:21. So they're alleging he got up the next morning, or he went unalived these kids, went home 5 a.m., but by 9 a.m. he was back on the road, and he was heading back over to Moscow, and ends up back in their neighborhood somewhere. I don't guess it's seen on camera, but the phone is pinging in the area. Where they can pinpoint it at, I don't know. Sources that are consistent with the phone traveling back to the area of the Kohberger residence and arriving to the area at 9:32. Now, you would think, honestly, if that car came in at 9 a.m. or 9:12 and 9:21, and it came down Taylor Ave or anywhere near that house, is there not a camera somewhere that might spot it? Or at least a grainy image of it? We'll have to see. They don't mention it here, but I wonder if they have found it since then, and they went and canvassed the area for all their footage, and they apparently got a lot, because Ann said they got a lot of discovery and a lot of video to go through, and she said she had everything on the car. She said that months ago. She's all been worried about phone stuff, but she made it clear she had all their camera footage they had on that car. Be interesting to see if that car can be seen between 9:12 and 9:21 near the home the next morning. And why, if it did, why did it go back if that's him? Below is a depiction, not to scale, of the possible route taken. And there, look, there's my can't my map is way better. You can see it. This is, the starting tip up there is where the home is, and then the car leaves and comes out the countryway and goes the back way back into Pullman. Investigators found that the phone did not connect to a cell phone tower that provides service to Moscow on November 14th. But investigators do not believe the phone was in Moscow on that date. Isn't that weird? Investigators found that the phone did not connect to a cell tower that provides service to Moscow on November 14th, but investigators do not believe the phone was in Moscow on that date. Well, obviously it wasn't if it didn't connect to a tower in there. The phone was not connected to any towers that provide service to Moscow since that date. So they're saying he didn't go back over there at all once the crimes were committed. Which it would be kind of odd if you were going over there multiple times and it was a thing and you were going over there dining, shopping, whatever, and then suddenly you're not going at all anymore. That's a little bit peculiar. Doesn't mean you did anything, but it's a little peculiar. Based on my training and the facts investigation thus far, I believe Kohberger, the user of the phone, was likely the driver of the white Elantra that is observed departing Pullman. That is the vehicle likely suspect vehicle 1. Additionally, the route of travel of the phone during the early morning hours of November 13th and the lack of the phone reporting to AT&T between 2:47 and 4:48 is consistent with Kohberger attempting to conceal his location during the quadruple homicide that occurred at the King Road residence. On December 23rd, God, my shoulder. On December 23rd, I need to put this mouse over here on this other side of this desk because I'm left-handed to start with, and my right shoulder is not having this crap. On December 23rd, I was granted a search warrant for Kohberger's historical CSLI from June 23rd of 2022 to current, prospective location information, and a PIN register trap. Now remember, they want to do away with that PIN register trap. She's saying that you got that as fruit of the poison tree. You better not be. We don't want you using it. We'll have to see what the judge determines on that. The phone to aid in efforts to determine if Kohberger stalked any of the victims in this case prior to the offense. Conducted surveillance on King Road. Conducted surveillance associates per and after the alleged offense. Any locations that may contain evidence of the murders that occurred on November 13th, the location of the white Elantra registered to Kohberger, as well as the location of Kohberger. You guys remember how short Richard Allen's PCA was and how just like nothing, bullet, look how long this damn thing is. On December 23rd, 2022, pursuant to the search warrant, I received historical records for the phone from AT&T at the time the account was opened in June 2022. After consulting with CAST SA, I was able to determine estimated locations for 8458 phone from June 22nd to present. At the time authorized by the court, the records of the phone show the phone utilizing cellular resources that provide coverage to the King Road 21122 King Road on at least 12 occasions, pinged 12 times at least on a cell tower that provided service to the home. So he had to be within close proximity to the home. But do you see the car circling the home? Do you see it parked back there on Walenta somewhere watching? Is it just driving through the area? Yeah, you can drive down Walenta and see the whole back of that house, and but you can't unless you stop and get out and pop a squat in the woods and sit there for a minute. You can absolutely sit there and watch that house for a really long time if the foliage is good enough, because people are moving around a lot back there. But again, just because the phone is pinging in the area 12 times really doesn't mean anything to me. And now, if you're going over there, unless you all of a sudden stopped and you never went back after the killings, I mean, that's a little weird, like I said. Then they go back into on one of those occasions they're talking about was the August 21st when he got, see, this is where we don't know. When he got pulled over on the 21st and we don't have that body cam footage, where was he pulled over at? How close to that house was he? Was he close to the house? You know what I mean? That's a mystery. I don't know. One of these occasions, on August 21st, 2022, the phone utilized cell resources providing coverage to the King Road resident at approximately 10:34 p.m. to 11:35. What time they say that pullover was? I can't remember. Did I write that down? I don't know if I did or not. Kohberger was stopped by Latah County Sheriff's. Oh, yeah, okay. So I guess it was during that time frame, from approximately 10:30. Okay, the phone was there. Phone utilized cell resources providing coverage to King Road from approximately 10:30 to 11:35. At 11:37, Kohberger was stopped by the sheriff's department, as mentioned above. The phone was utilizing resources consistent with the location of the traffic stop during the time, Farm Road and Pullman Highway. I wonder where that car is at.
Do you want to look at that body cam footage? Do you want to take a quick peek at that?
Yeah, you can go ahead and grab that. I'm going to go grab coffee while you get that pulled up, and let me get this screen down. Let me get this screen down so we can get yours up.
You're going to have to let me share it.
Okay. Yeah, I just pulled my screen down. Oh, let me get yours up. Okay.
There we go.
Now, this is the footage. This is not the August 21st stop.
No. This is
right. Okay.
Pullman. This is Pullman.
Okay. All right. Yeah, go ahead. Take it away, Joe. Yeah.
So technically, you're not supposed to enter the intersection at all for that reason, because if the light turns red, then you're stuck in the intersection, and then you're on the red light. So that's the reason I stopped you. Do you have your license on you?
Yep.
Do you have the registration and insurance?
Let me just get this for you out.
You what?
I'm just gonna get this out for you.
Okay.
I'm just going to do you a favor. I'm going to get this out for you.
So would you explain that to me a little bit further? So in Pennsylvania, when you're stuck like in the intersection, you have to make the left. So what would the appropriate thing for me to have done? Just
you're not supposed to block an intersection like that in Washington. So just by you blocking the intersection, that's technically a ticketable violation. And then then you're running a red light. So it's another ticketable offense. So you're not supposed to proceed into the intersection until you can go. Because a lot of people do what you just did, right? Is like you're sitting in the intersection waiting, and then turns, and then you're blocking. So
yeah, there was a little bit of confusion with speeding because someone had stopped. I wasn't sure what they were doing, and then they put on their light to turn. Mm-hmm. So I thought that maybe they were letting me go through.
Oh.
Did you see that?
No. Mm-mm.
Yeah, like right before I made the turn, there was someone who made a right. And they didn't have their signal on, so I wasn't sure if they were just waiting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I would just advise just don't enter the intersection until you can go, so you don't get stuck. Let's see.
But in that situation, the best thing to
do. I have to say that 90% of the people do not adhere with that rule. Don't enter the intersection until the path to turn left is clear. we all go out and we stick our nose in the intersection, and we, as soon as the light turns yellow and the people coming across stop coming across, we turn left. Whether it's yellow or red, we go. Just saying.
You then would be back up. And not,
I don't know if there's a best thing to do in that situation, because you're either going to back up into somebody
yeah,
or you're going to run a red light. So, or you're going to be sitting
Run
in
the
an
red light.
intersection.
Yeah.
There's not really a great option there.
yeah.
Mhm.
I was just slightly into the crosswalk, so
Mhm.
yeah. Where I'm from Pennsylvania, we
Mhm.
actually don't have like crosswalks.
Oh,
So even if
interesting.
you're kind of slightly, there's a little bit more leeway as well. Like there are a few lines. Like there's one white line and there's another one in
Mhm.
front. Like there's like a certain
Yeah.
margin from which you can actually kind of put your vehicle, place your vehicle.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I know laws vary state to state, but there is a law
Yeah.
in Washington for blocking an intersection like that, proceeding through when you don't when you're just stalling. I forget the actual verbiage. I can find it for you, but it's like stalling, blocking an intersection.
Yeah, I'm just curious about the law. I don't mean to.
Oh no, yeah, I
Yeah,
can find
not
it for you.
disagree with
Yeah.
anything.
Mhm. 1 second.
I'm just curious about the
Looks
law. I can
good.
find it for you.
Hyundai.
Yes,
I
please
don't see
do.
Pennsylvania registration like at all. Okay, let's see. Expires November 22nd or 2022. Okay. And
Yeah, one of those is actually.
yeah, okay, that looks good. I'll hand that back to you. I'm just gonna go check your info. I'll try to find that RCW, the law for you, and I'll be right back.
Thank you.
All right.
Hey, Firefly, welcome in. Yeah, I didn't find it too odd to pull out
I'm
there.
actually
We
just
all
in a very
do it,
rural
right?
area.
We
but-
do. We totally
There was
do.
Actually, something wrong, but I
Yeah.
like some,
And actually, we get pissed when the people in front of us don't pull out in front and get in the intersection, because we're like, we can get 5 of us through this intersection after the light turns yellow. 5 of us can get through
Right.
there.
It's like, would you just go so I could go? Damn it, yeah, get
Yep.
on with it.
except for
Yeah.
the fact that I was blocking the
Yeah.
crosswalk, which is
Yeah.
what I went through.
And states vary a lot from.
But the fact that he like challenges her on the law, and he says, I'd like to see the law on that, and she's like, I can find that, and she actually goes and gets it. Like, kudos to her, because she goes and finds the citation in the Idaho State Code that says, yeah, you can't do that.
Yeah,
That's-
she wouldn't have it. See, and if you look at some of the things that have been said about him in his past by people who knew him and teachers and things like that, that's the kind of guy he was. He was going to challenge you. And I'm going to tell you what, both of my exes are Scorpios, accidentally born a day apart. And I didn't know that. So in the future, like, there won't be no future for me. But if I ever did, I'm going to need to know when your birthday is. And you better not be a Scorpio, because I'm leaving, going the other direction. You take your arrogant ass, know-it-all self. You go be happy somewhere else, because it ain't going to be with this Gemini. It's not going to happen.
From laws like Pennsylvania, I don't even have that law.
Look at his eyes. Look
I
at his
know.
eyes, though.
Mhm.
So
They're
just
like,
don't have crosswalks.
Oh.
Unless I visit an area where there are
Gotcha.
crosswalks, and then it's not very frequent.
Yeah.
I do apologize if I was asking you too many questions about the law. I wasn't trying to like.
No, not at all. Like, I understand you're not from here, so if you don't, a lot of people don't know a bunch of laws.
he's
I
like,
only know
I'm
it 'cause it's what I
totally
do, but,
challenging you, but
yeah,
I'm not
if you're ever
challenging
curious on any
you.
more laws, just
Totally
DM me, and
challenging
it can be
you,
hard
but
to
I'm
read.
not
It's in like
challenging
legal
you.
language, but that helps.
All right.
Well, she didn't seem to want to back down from him, so I don't think he really had a choice at that point to be like, okay,
Right,
well, I'm sorry,
exactly,
but
yeah.
still, but that still don't mean he did anything wrong, but he was in the area, and it shows that his personality type is to be like, well, wait, but I can be that way sometimes. Well, wait a minute, you proved me what I did wrong first. Show me, but I'm not going to argue the law. I might have said, well, I'm sorry, back home we were allowed to do that, but I get you, lady. We can't do that here. I'll never do it again. I wouldn't have tried to make some big ass conversation about it. Not unless he liked her and was going to ask her on a date or something in the end. It could have been his way of flirting.
Right. I'm making eye contact with you. You're a female officer, and I think of myself as an attractive male who has had gastric bypass surgery or whatever he had.
Yeah, he did.
So-
He had the surgery. He overcame quite a bit. He had the visual. I don't know if you guys ever knew, some of you may, or they're just coming into the case. Brian Kohberger apparently, according to him and his past post, He suffers from what's known as visual snow. And he started suffering with that as gosh, Firefly Dan, it's been so long since we've even talked about this stuff. So he gets like this visual, like things look really snowy, right? It affects your eyesight. You can't see. Things are just very, very snowy, and things would happen in his head at the same time. And there was a lot of that in his past. And then he had the weight problem. Then he had the heroin addiction. These are things that really did occur in his past. It's not some made up stuff or fairy tale we pulled out of our ass. It's stuff that happened. Does it mean he did anything? No. It means he overcome some things, in my opinion. He could have, overcome the visual snow stuff. He was on medications for that in the past. He did try different things to help with the visual snow. I don't really know what causes visual snow, if there's a particular thing that causes it, or if there's other conditions that go along with it, if it's a psychological thing, or how it all. I struggled with that for a long time, and with the weight loss. And then, his Casey, a girl who knew him from school, her and her brother both knew him. She never knew him to be like physically violent with her or her brother, but there were people who said he was bullied, and then as he lost weight, he became more of a bully. Now, if that's true or not, we don't know. These are things that were going on when he was a teenager. So there's just the people who knew him, that his peers, that were saying those kinds of things. But I don't think anybody really had horrible things to say about the guy. Some said he was a little odd, a little strange, got bullied, was a little overweight, but he got, he ended up losing weight, was on drugs, got off the drugs. But I don't think anybody ever suspected he may one day become this, if this is him. Do you know what I mean? If he did all this. I don't think they realized or he had any indication that he may be that type of person someday. But there were problems in his past. That's what I do know. Let me check something here. Thank you, Joe. Oops, let me get comments back up here. I got to go in a few minutes and start cooking dinner, but I'm going to let Joe's actually going to start cooking. Him and his kiddo are in there. Where did we leave off at? So we were, okay, so yeah, so he got pulled over on August 21st, and that was 11:37 at night, and the phone was utilizing the cell tower in the consistent with the location at the Farm Road and Pullman Highway. But I still wonder where that car was when they pulled him over. I see what it tells me there, but why not show us that body cam if you're willing to show the one that they gave out that we just saw you play? You know what I mean? What was so different about that particular one that we don't see it? I don't know why. So further analysis, Joe, we were right there if you want to start there. Are you still with us?
Yes, I'm here. Do you have it pulled up?
Oh, y'all can't see it. He's like, I would read it, but I can't see it. Hey, wait a minute. Where'd it go? Oh, it took it a second to come. That time it's like it's falling asleep or something. So further analysis of the cell data provided. That's where we were at. Can you see that okay? Do I need to make it bigger?
No, I can see it fine, but it's going to take me like 2 minutes to read through this. Do you need more than 2 minutes?
No, I do not. Oops, let me get my page straight, though. You probably would like that.
Okay.
You can see
Further
the screen now,
analysis.
Butterfly? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, good deal.
Further
I know
analysis.
you do. Oh, sorry, I was answering Danger.
No, yeah, I see that. I see that.
Yeah. All right, go ahead.
Further analysis of the cellular data provided showed that 8458 phone showed the 8458 phone utilized cellular resources on November 13th, 2022, consistent with the phone traveling from Pullman, Washington to Lewiston, Idaho via US Idaho 90 or US Highway 95. So that's Lewiston is way south of Pullman. That's like where the next major city is with like a Walmart, I think, if I remember right. At approximately 12:36 p.m., so that's early afternoon, 12:36 p.m., the 8458 phone utilized cellular resources that would provide coverage to Kate's Cup of Joe coffee stand, Kate's Cup of Joe coffee stand located at 810 Port Drive, Clarkston, Washington. Surveillance footage from the U.S. Chef store located at 820 Port Drive, Clarkston, Washington, and adjacent to Kate's Cup of Joe showed a white Elantra consistent with suspect vehicle 1 drive past Kate's Cup of Joe at a time consistent with the cellular data from the 8548 phone. So the 8548 phone, are we assuming that's Kohberger's phone? What is 12:36 p.m.? How does 12:36 p.m. have to do anything with the crime? 12:36 p.m., that's nowhere near the crimes which occurred more than 12 hours later or earlier. I don't even know it. Oh, November 13th. 8458 phone utilized cellular resources on November 13th. So somebody tell me when is the date of the murders and what does November 13th have to do with that?
Oh, I was on mute. I was like, what? I was trying to talk to you, but I was on mute.
Okay, answer my questions,
Sorry.
please.
Jacob,
Please,
mute
please.
the whole time. I cannot stop making fun of her for that. I'm sorry. I couldn't believe I caught the tail. I happened to click on or going through my YouTube and she was live when I clicked on just for shits and giggles because I was bored. And she's just yapping away and her hands were going 90 to nothing. And chat was screaming at her, "You're on mute." She didn't know it the entire time she was live until the very end. God damn it, bless her heart.
So if the murders were on the early morning of November 13th, then what does this cell phone data have to do at 12:36 p.m. on the 13th? I don't understand the connection.
So further analysis of the cell data provided showed that the phone utilized cell. I think they're trying to establish consistency in their phone data. And they're showing you, they can tell you where he was after the. You can believe us because we also believe that, you know what I mean? I don't know. That's the way I felt like they were trying to establish the pings with the car, like Firefly says. They're associating the pings with the car. That's the early, because we all wondered the same thing and talked about this stuff as well, because they're going to go through the whole day of, that's when he's going to be seen at the Albertsons grocery store. We're going to read that in a second. And is it to establish accuracy of what there are of their investigation as far as where this car is in relation to where the phone is pinging? And also you got your 2 hours that the phone was offline. We don't even know where the car was during those 2 hours. Did it slip behind there at Linda Lane? Then when it sped away at a high rate of speed down Walenta, down Conestoga or whatever it was called, out toward the countryside, then it's all, the car can't be seen because of that reason, maybe. But the phone, I think it's just to establish that the accuracy of their phone pings and the car lining up with each other.
Okay, so after he commits a quadruple homicide, He goes back to Pullman, Washington, and then eventually he goes down to the Kate's Cup of Joe coffee in Lewiston. Is that what this
Yes.
is saying?
Yes.
Okay.
And we don't know why he would go back toward Lewiston, even to the grocery that I'm sure you have a grocery store in Pullman. Pullman's got a freaking large campus of people. People require food. It's got to be at least one grocery store, maybe two. You know, my little tiny town there in town's got 3. Oh no, actually we got 2 more. We got a new one. We got a Publix finally, thank God. But yeah, why go all the way toward Lewiston to do that? Unless you were taking something somewhere and you were in the area for that reason. Like, you know, if you want to put yourself into the theory for a moment, this is the guy. Was he going back? Because if you go toward that area, and we can go into the maps, and like I think part 2, we're going to do that. We're going to deep dive these maps. And when I was telling you guys the other night, or the last show, that we mapped this route out of here, that was me, Firefly, and Danger. And Firefly and I spent a lot of time in this one particular location just looking around, and we found a lot of interesting things. Danger found a lot of interesting things out there in the countryside as well. And these are things that we talked about for so long that I wasn't streaming back then. We were able to talk about, and I'm going to have to get with them too and schedule and get them up here with us, and so we can go over some of this stuff. Because like I said, I know there's a lot of new people coming into the case that weren't paying as much attention before, maybe, or new to true crime or in general, or were just really deep into the Delphi case. Now they're here, and just trying to get facts as we know them out there. Plus, we can talk about theories as well, especially coming out of these documents. There's going to be a lot in these documents to talk about. And there's been so many documents filed between day one and like, you know, just the other day. There's a lot of things I have reviewed that I have forgotten about or have forgotten what they said, and I want to go back and take a look. We were deep diving warrants for the longest time, and I was telling Joe just the other day when we were talking, I was like, you know, one of the odd things that just I had a hard time getting past as well was the fact that there were so many bank accounts looked at in this case. Yes, you got 4 victims, so you already got a lot of victims. Yes, Danger, Johnson Bar, you know, that's my favorite place. I want that shovel out of that trunk tested for soil, and you two know why. But you know, so there's still a lot to unpack with this case. That's why we entitled tonight part 1, and wanted to go over the PCA stuff with you guys, because there's a lot of information in here that people aren't aware. Established part of that, but why go that direction? I don't know if that was common for him. They don't say this appeared to be common, like going to Moscow 12 times. You know what I mean? Like back and forth between the 2 cities there. It feels like they were just they were trying to establish that their accuracy of their phone stuff and their car sightings lining up with their phone pings. And Kate's Cup of Joe, you drive past it when he went past there. And then at 12:46, that phone utilized cell tower data in the area of Albertson's grocery store. Now, they have surveillance footage of that. The grocery store was at 400 Bridge Street. I never did write that address down. I know we mapped it before, guys, but I never did write that down. If I did, I don't know what I did with it. And that was in Clarkston. And if you go, let me show you real quick. So this area right in here at the bottom, this is going to be your Lewiston Clarkston area that they're talking about. Now, I don't remember where I was. Okay. So he went to the Albertsons grocery store at 400 Bridge Street in Clarkston, Washington. Surveillance footage obtained from the Albertsons showed Kohberger exit the white Elantra. How clear is that footage, I wonder? Consistent with suspect vehicle 1 at approximately 12:49. Interior surveillance cameras showed Kohberger walk through the store, purchase unknown items at the checkout. Don't lie, because y'all know that's not unknown. Y'all know you have to see it. How many times have we seen Walmart footage, people? You know what I'm saying? When we're investigating cases and these Walmart things come out, you can see what they're purchasing 9 times out of 10. And that's how they catch a lot of these people, is like they see them purchasing certain items, and they can go in and get the receipt. They just get a warrant, they can go find out what was purchased. But he was purchasing unknown items. Maybe he was in there getting some milk and cereal. That transferred DNA is a monster. And he left at approximately 1:04. Kohberger's path of travel is depicted below. And again, with their crappy little picture, you can't hardly see very well. But it shows that he comes into the area, does his thing, and it shows the way out. But their map sucks. We'll have to get our own map out. Okay, so additional analysis of records for the phone indicated that between approximately 5:32 p.m. and 5:36 p.m., the phone utilized cell resources that provided coverage to Johnson, Idaho. The phone then stops reporting to the network from approximately 5:30 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. 3 hours. Again, the phone stops reporting. Why and where? Walmart and Uncle Google will get you every time, won't they, Forrest? Every time. So if y'all planning something nefarious, don't use your real phone and don't go to the Walmart. Yeah, cross that river. The Snake River is over this way. And so is Wawawi Park, but it's actually closer over in this way, I think. I haven't mapped it in a hot minute, although I've been all over that place too, more than I should have. It's a place we need to look at, though, and we're going to pull that document back up and read it eventually. Phone stops for 3 hours again, 5:30 to 6:30, and this was in the Johnson, Idaho area. That is consistent with the phone being in the area that the phone traveled in the hours immediately following the suspected times of the homicides occurred. So you tell me what was going on during that 3 hours. We can go down that rabbit hole. You know what I mean? That's a lot to take in, and to map that and go look at the map. That's what we did. We're like, well, what's in this area? Why are you offline for 3 hours? Were you driving around again? Because you couldn't sleep. It's 5:30 to 6:30. It's kind of like not bedtime, so I don't know. On December 27th, Pennsylvania agents recovered the trash from the Kohberger family residence located in Albrightsville, Pennsylvania. That evidence was sent to the Idaho State Lab for testing. December 28th, the lab reported that a DNA profile obtained from the trash and the DNA profile obtained from the sheath identified a male as not being excluded as the biological father of the suspect profile. Now remember, when they first obtained the garbage from the family's home, they only were able to recover the father's DNA. And according to law enforcement, when they were surveilling Kohberger just before the arrest, they saw him walk to a neighbor's can and put garbage in their can. Why? And then they alleged that when they made entry into the home, he was caught in the kitchen actively placing his personal garbage into Ziploc bags. So why would you need to do that? You know what I mean? Everybody's like, oh, it's the homeowners association, it's recycling, it's all the things. We went down all those rabbit holes, and it's not a thing. You don't have to take your napkins, whatever, your plastic spoons, whatever you were using, whatever your personal garbage is, you don't got to put that in little Ziploc bags. Right? Firefly, because if it's at the curb, it's free game, right? They didn't need to go knock on the neighbor's door and ask for their garbage. They could just went and obtained it. And if they saw him go put it over there, Why not, when he went back into the house, one of you get your ass down there and get that garbage out, or just take the whole damn can or whatever, you know? Yeah, Danger. I want to see it too. Was he really in there bagging up his own into Ziploc bags, or was it, composite bags? Was it, recycling bags? Whatever. But nobody we can find that's has said, yeah, you got to do that with your own personal garbage. Hey, girl, where you been, True Grit? I sent you an email. Did you get it? You need to check so we can link up. Anyway, matched the suspect profile DNA they had found on the sheath as being the father of the person who left the DNA on the sheath. So based on the above information, I'm requesting an arrest warrant be issued for Brian C. Kohberger. Now, we all saw just the other day that Ann wants the search warrants and all thrown out because she says they got those obtained. They obtained those using IgG. That's yet to be proven. That's what she says, but we don't know that that's actual fact. We need to see the dates and all the things. So we'll have to wait and see what the judge rules on that. But going to the search warrants, when we do part 2, which will be tomorrow at some point, I don't know what time yet, we're going to go over those search warrant returns as to what was taken from his home or his apartment, his car, and what they recovered from the parents' home. We don't know what was recovered in the car. We know what they did to the car. Like, they took this car apart, like took it apart in pieces. And we were assuming that it was either taken to a lab there in Pennsylvania or they brought it back to the Idaho State Lab, which is probably what they did, because it's an Idaho case. So, and like all the evidence that was collected in Pennsylvania was taken back to Idaho. So in there was really not a lot that came out of that apartment in Pullman. It was like a bare minimum stuff even in the apartment. There was no shower curtain in there. And oh my God, there were rumors about that. It was like, oh, he used it to line the trunk and all the things. Well, I think he could probably come up with something better than that to line his trunk with if he's going to do this. I'm going to give this guy 100%. He's smarter than that. But if you take my brake pedal and my gas pedal, you just take my whole damn car, for fuck's sake, right? And they did. They took all that apart. I don't know why. Is it easier to ship it like that or easier to test it like that? I'm not a crime scene forensics person. Should have been, but I'm not. Do you want to live in the Flintstones? Is he here, Danger? Like I whispered that like I was scared. I actually used one of his videos the other day. We were Linda Lane, because I knew he had it, and it wasn't in the Discord anymore. I don't know where it went. And I was like, I know who's got it. No. You're cracking me up. Stop it. All right, guys. Well, it is getting dinner time, and most of us have a fam and the children and all the things we got to get done. So I'm going to go do that. Jeff H. is a old friend of ours from the true crime community. Butterfly. He's a big teddy bear. He's cool. Well, depends on who you ask. Joe, what did you make for dinner?
So tonight we had roasted pork chops that I put in a brine overnight. So marinated brine pork chops
I'm
with
having
roasted
pork
broccoli.
chops tonight. But look, you done went and fancied yours up, and I don't intend to do that.
That's okay. That's okay. They don't need a whole lot. Pork is easy. And I did roasted broccoli too.
Oh, okay, cool. All right, girl, good. I'm glad you got that. Good deal. Now we can link up. Yeah, I did send you the email, so I'm glad that you got that. I was hoping that you did that, because I do have my email on my page, but I don't check my emails a ton either. I don't always get a lot of emails. If I do, it's my personal one for like business and stuff like that. So, all right, guys. No, Butterfly, Jeff H isn't in here. Danger was just making a joke, and he knew I would get it. Special spaghetti? What the hell, girl? What's special about your spaghetti? What you put in there? What kind of herbs you put in your spaghetti? I might need to come eat dinner with you. That's funny. Well, everyone, thanks for coming in. We do appreciate it. Coming in, hanging out with us, and reviewing the case with us, and trying to get everybody up to speed, because the case is going to start getting movement, especially, with a new judge, a new county, new filings are coming out. Anne's going to be filing a lot of motions to suppress a lot of things. She made it clear months ago in her motion to suppress that sheath. She said it was going to be coming. So it's going to be interesting. Onions, bell peppers, mushrooms. Oh, yeah. My kid.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. My son's a huge spaghetti fan. Like, I'm like, dude, I've ate so much spaghetti. I don't know if I can eat it all the time like he does. Oh, I love me some fresh garlic and tomatoes and something. Ooh, y'all are making some good dinners. I live too far from all of y'all. I cook because we have to eat. Sometimes I cook because I'm in the mood to make something really good. Most time I cook because we have to eat. I'm just not that lady. It is what it is. But I'm not a terrible cook, but it's not. My sister just she loves that stuff. She's all up in it. But all right, guys. Well, I'm gonna go so I can go get dinner started, and all the things, and we'll get us scheduled up here for the next show, and we'll get back at it. We finished the PCA. Like I said, we dropped the link in chat right to the documents. It's also on my I almost said Twitter, on my YouTube page. You can find it there as well. Butterfly linked it earlier, so you guys can go and review these case files for yourself at your own leisure. Because when you're doing a read through like this, and plus me stopping and we're talking, there may be things you want to go back over in your mind, and you have that opportunity if you can access the documents. So,
Danger, thanks for being here. Everybody,
don't
forget
Joe,
to like
I
and share.
appreciate you. Yes,
Don't
thank
forget
you.
to
Please
like and share.
Please like and share. Butterfly, we couldn't do it without you. You're always on top of dropping the links for me. I so appreciate you. We couldn't do it without you. Joe and I were talking about you this morning. We're like, yeah, Butterfly is just amazing. So, again, all of you are great. Thanks for coming in. Danger, Firefly, so good to see you guys. I miss you too. Yeah, you guys tune back in. Turn everything on, notifications, all the things, and we'll let you know when we go live again. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Peace out. Be well.
Have a good night, guys.